With a look at our top stories this hour, we're learning about a house fire in Orem. Assistant Chief Sean Hurst with the Orem City Fire Department said they got the call about 5 a.m. this morning.
A smoker on the back of the fourplex that had been running over the night ended up catching a trailer and a car on fire and then extended into the attic of the structure.
Everyone was able to get out of the fourplex safely. 3 dogs were rescued, but 1 cat was lost in that fire. Extreme wildfires are on the rise around the world. A new study found that the number and intensity of major wildfires more than doubled in the last 20 years. North America and Australia being hit the hardest, with North America producing more smoke, reducing air quality, and killing more people. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, the U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy says that gun violence is an urgent public health crisis. He's calling for better research and data collection, better community-led prevention and education programs, an assault weapons ban, and universal background checks. Your money at this moment, the markets are mixed. The Dow's still the only one in the red this morning. It's off 186 points. The S&P is up about 11, and the tech stocks still on a tear. They're up 137 points on the NASDAQ. Coming up, we won't get to triple digits, but that doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable for the next 7 days or so. We'll check the full forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Paid for by Lyman for Utah.
I really just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to everybody that's worked so hard on this campaign. Thank you to the volunteers, to the donors, people that have put up signs, people that have been out talking to their neighbors. It's been so great. I really believe that Utah is about to see unspeakable good. We are really, really close in the polls right now. If you turn out, if you'll come out and vote, if you'll get a friend to go with you, we're about to see one of the biggest upsets in Utah's political history, and I really want you to be part of it.
I'm Phil Lyman, and I approve this message.
Hi, friends. Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails with feedback from customers. Here's one. Dear Dan, I just had the best experience ever. I bought a computer from Shane at your State Street store. I asked several what I thought were really stupid questions. Shane was super courteous and made me feel comfortable through the whole process. People need to understand how important it is to support a local company, especially when your experience is so good. PC Laptops really does love me. Signed, Satisfied. I love hearing feedback like that. It really just gives me the chills. It's the whole reason why I got into the computer business in the first place. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop, and they start at only $29 a month. And it comes with a lifetime warranty. That means if anything goes wrong, we're going to take care of you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. At PC Laptops, we really do love you.
We need Colby Jenkins. His commitment to the Constitution, fiscal responsibility, limited government, and individual liberty make him the best candidate to represent Utah's values in Washington.
The problem in Washington isn't just Democrats. Half of the Republicans in Congress vote for deficit spending, endless wars, and unconstitutional mandates. That's why we need better Republicans, like Colby Jenkins.
Paid for by the Constitutional Conservatives Fund PAC. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with everything I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of dry AMD called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, colors appear dull or washed out. For others, hazy or blurred vision make it hard to see details, like fine print on price tags. Many have trouble seeing in the dark, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you think you have GA, don't wait. Treatments are available. Ask a retina specialist about FDA-approved treatments for GA and go to GAWon'tWait.com.
Traffic and weather together is again brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Len Thomas is in the traffic center.
Hey, Tim, a stretch of slow traffic running northbound I-15 Bluffdale to Bangor, then from 90th south to Murray, where traffic is tight in both directions at the south interchange. And then it continues on from Murray on to South Salt Lake, a little bit slow. Foothill Drive is quite busy, coming off of I-80, making your way over towards Sunnyside, and making your way out on the I-80. As you're heading eastbound, you've got those constrictions slowing things down from 7200 west out to 5600 west. Looking for some fun ways to celebrate 4th of July? Visit bearlake.org for fun the whole family can enjoy, from chuck wagon breakfast to parades to fireworks. Visit bearlake.org. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
We have an excessive heat warning that's in effect today as we look to get to triple digits for the third time this year. 100 degrees in the forecast. Look at the rest of the week. 96 tomorrow with a chance of rain. Rain again on Thursday. 91. Most of those will just be thunder bumpers that pass through in the afternoon. Then the cool spot Friday at 86 before we jump back up into the upper 90s. Right now in Salt Lake City with the sunshine, 76 degrees. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes, reminding you to listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We're crossing the finish line, Dave, in our marathon race to primary day. In about 11 hours from now, we'll get our first dump of votes because we've been voting over the last several weeks, and we'll get a better picture of how the general election is going to shape up.
Yeah, this is so crucial because obviously here in Utah, the primaries matter on a level that not a lot of states can say that, you know. So we will follow every step of the way today. And as you said, 11 hours from now, we should get the first little inklings of what is happening. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
We've been talking so much about how finances, our personal finances, will shape our decisions going into the general. There's a new emergency savings report card that's out, and it shows 60% of us are uncomfortable with the amount we have saved for an emergency, which pretty much means a lot of us don't have anything saved for an emergency. In fact, 30% say they don't have any savings at all. So 9:50, let's go in depth on this new report card. And I've got a list of savings hacks that actually work. They're working for me. So we're going to go through those in a few minutes.
And there's some things when I look at my financial situation where maybe I'm a little too hard on myself. Maybe I have more savings than you realize. 401k, that counts. But do you have that big, fat savings account sitting there, 6 months worth of savings in case you lose a job? No, I don't have that. How many people do? In fact, you and I did the $1,000 challenge years ago. Well, $1,000 today isn't what it was in 2018 when you and I went on that big push.
Countdown to
10:05 this morning, KSL 5 Television's investigative reporter Daniela Rivera joining the show to tell us what she found when she went to unearth how much voter fraud has been discovered and prosecuted in Utah over the last dozen years. For context, what she turned up shows that there's very, very, very few cases of this going on.
Have we ever found evidence of fraud in Utah significant enough to sway the result of an election?
No, we've never seen fraud significant enough in Utah to sway the results of an election.
One of the big questions I have is what qualifies as fraud? It's such a big term, but I'll be very interested to hear from Daniela and what has been prosecuted here in Utah.
Launch countdown 1.
As you've been hearing all morning here, starting with Utah's Morning News, it is primary day. We'll have full coverage all day long. You have until 8 o'clock tonight to get your ballots turned in, but you got to turn them in person. Do not go to the post office with that ballot. It's too late for that. That had to be postmarked yesterday. You have to drop them off at a drop box.
Yeah, we'll call it Dropbox Day. Today is
Love
Dropbox
Love
Day.
it, Dave.
We're going to take a look at some of the most interesting races and see if our crystal ball can tell us anything.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch. Your voice, your vote 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Primary races are typically dominated by incumbents. Let's look at the data. It's looking at the House of Representatives back to 1964, which is BD. You know what BD stands for?
Before Debbie? Is that what it was?
Correct. BD. And so if
BBD, barely before Debbie.
Oh, thanks. If you're the incumbent, you keep your seat 85 to 98% of the time. Never once has that number dropped below 85%, Dave.
Yeah, incumbents dominate. They do and always have. It's called the incumbency bias. You have a huge advantage. It's not only name recognition, it's fundraising. What is unique about this election here in Utah, there are 3 open seats where there is no incumbent to go against. You've got Senator Mitt Romney's seat, Congressional District 3, John Curtis is running for Senate, so his seat is open, and then the Attorney General as well. Very, very unique. In general, to have 3 open seats, that is unheard of.
Starting strong right out of the gates on this primary election day. KSL 5 Television's Lindsay Aerts live on the phone with us right now. So what does the latest polling show us? Let's start with Senator Romney's open seat. Linz?
Yeah, Deb and Dave, good morning. So we got some new polling out yesterday by Noble Predictive Insights, which just shows that in that Senate race, John Curtis has about a 20-point lead on his next closest challenger, who is Trent Staggs, and that's a significant lead. That's really hard to overcome at this point in the numbers, unless we see something kind of crazy happen. But the other 2 candidates in the race didn't even get double digits, and so it appears that race is at least between the top 2, which would be Curtis and Staggs. However, a 20-point lead is really hard to overcome. I will say that where Riverton Mayor Trent Staggs is doing well is in southern and rural Utah. He's also doing well among Trump supporters, right? So folks who identify as Trump first candidates as opposed to Republican Party first candidates, he's doing well there. He has Trump's endorsement, and so that backing seems to resonate with those folks. And so you really see in this race the lanes that have been carved out, I think, between John Curtis and Trent Staggs, where John Curtis is really appealing to kind of that more broader electorate, moderate faction of the Republican Party. And then you see a lane for Trent Staggs where he's carved out kind of that right-wing flank of the party with the Trump support. But then the other 2 candidates in the race haven't been able to pull any of those voters and carve out those lanes for themselves.
And another layer to that, Trent Staggs dominated the Republican convention, won handily.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm really watching for, you guys, as results come in tonight. I think political insiders are really looking at all of these races as sort of a referendum on the caucus convention system. Traditionally and typically, the general election, primary election electorate tends to be more moderate, right? And so we see these more signature gathering candidates tend to do well, whereas convention-only candidates tend to lose in the primary. Not always, but sometimes, right? And so I think political insiders are really watching for how well convention candidates do in a primary election because those delegates tend to pick more conservative candidates.
KSL 5 Television's Lindsay Aerts. Thanks, Linz.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Happy primary election day to you. No, it's going to be a long day for everybody here at Broadcast House on our KSL News Radio team, as well as the KSL 5 team. We'll be keeping a close eye on everything. And straight ahead, KSL at Night host Taylor Morgan joining the show to help us break down the next big race on our docket, the governor's race. He's up next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
And I said to myself, sit down, you're rocking the boat.
Join Utah Festival Opera and Musical Theater July 5th through August 3rd for show-stopping performances in Logan. Professional performers from Broadway and all over bring you Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats, the lively classic Guys and Dolls, the hilarious Anything Goes with spectacular tap dancing and music by Cole Porter, cult classic Little Shop of Horrors, and Puccini's opera Gianni Schicchi with its sequel Buoso's Ghost. Stop the commercial! I'm interrupting myself to tell you that Utah students K through 12 can get a free ticket to all Utah Festival performances this summer. Claim yours online now. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Cult classic Little Shop of Horrors and Puccini's opera Gianni Schicchi with its sequel Buoso's Ghost. Plus, late-night cabarets, 5 concerts, breakfast with the stars, academy classes, and more. Tickets at utahfestival.org. utahfestival.org.
Utah's historic primary ends tonight. Get total election coverage this week. A special edition of Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News starting today at 3 and live results all night. Then tomorrow, get a roundup of winners and reaction to the races all morning. Your voice, your vote 2024. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hello, I'm former Governor Gary Herbert. I've known Spencer Cox for over 15 years. His commitment to Utah and to our future is unmatched. In his first term, he passed record tax cuts while increasing teachers' salaries and funding for education. Now more than ever, we need a strong, principled, conservative leadership in this state. I trust Spencer Cox completely. Vote to keep Utah strong. Re-elect Spencer Cox as governor.
Paid for by friends of Spencer Cox.
Are you dealing with pain and discomfort from bulky, ill-fitting dentures? Do you find yourself hiding away during meals with your family and friends? Don't let dentures hold you back any longer. Utah's Best of State winner, Stubbs Dental Implant Center, is here to set you free. Say goodbye to dentures and say hello to the All-On X dental implant procedure, the permanent, life-changing solution that allows you to eat, smile, and laugh confidently once again. Thanks to the newest cutting-edge technology, you can have a brand new, permanent smile in as little as 24 hours. Yeah, you heard it right. Fast forward to finals and let your smile be the one to light up the room. And here's the best part. Your consultation is absolutely free. At Stubbs Dental Implant Center, Utah's #1 dental implant center, they've helped thousands of patients love their smiles again. You could be next. It only takes 60 seconds to start your journey to a happier, healthier smile at StubbsDental.com. That's StubbsDental.com.
Hi, my name is Bradley Park, and I'm running to be your next Salt Lake County Surveyor. Election day is right around the corner, and as your Deputy County Surveyor, I'm uniquely qualified to step in and fill this important role. With my extensive experience in the survey field and my deep commitment to protecting your right to quietly enjoy property, there is no better choice in this race. That's why our current County Surveyor, Reed Demon, has endorsed me. Vote Bradley Park for County Surveyor on June 25th.
Paid for by the committee to elect Bradley Park.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card. Download the free Upside app now and use promo code GIFT for an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back on your first fill-up. That's promo code GIFT.
Put your phone on D&D, that means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D, that means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. Pretty obvious, right? You think different, talk different, but if you feel different, you drive different. So if you're high, just don't drive. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, nearly a quarter of all eligible Utah voters have cast their votes early. So far, the counties with the highest turnout, Paiute, San Juan, and Rich counties, all are at about 42%. Second, an excessive heat warning is in place today. Experts recommend staying hydrated and out of the sun during the hottest parts of the day. And third, emergency teams are telling hikers to be careful if they head into the mountains to escape the heat, because unseen hazards like bridges of river could exist underneath the leftover snow. We're going to look for a high today of 100 degrees, and right now in Salt Lake City at 76 as we get you back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Your voice, your vote, 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
We just got off the phone with KSL 5 Television's Lindsay Aerts, who's tracking primary election day, along with our team here at KSL News Radio. We talked to Linz about the United States Senate race, the race for Mitt Romney's seat. And now let's switch over to the governor's race, where in the primary, the Republican primary, we have incumbent Spencer Cox up against challenger Phil Lyman, who represents the people of like San Juan County, where and beyond, where he lives.
Yeah, and remember, when he came out of convention, he was extremely popular with the delegates. In fact, he got 70% of the vote at conventions. So I think a little bit surprising, because when you see Governor Cox, he's been fairly effective. He's been on the national stage. I mean, he's popping up on Face the Nation and being interviewed. So I was a little bit surprised to see him get a challenger from within his party, and then to lose, speaking of Governor Cox, to lose so handily at convention. Phil Lyman got 70% of the vote.
Taylor Morgan of KSL at Night. Thanks for getting up early with us, Taylor, to walk us through some of these latest poll numbers with the Cox-Lyman race for the governor's office. It shows Phil Lyman. This is the poll that Lindsay spoke of just a few minutes ago from Noble Predictive Insights. Phil Lyman with 42% right now, and current governor Spencer Cox at 55%. What do you make of this?
Yeah, Dave, Debbie, great to be with you. Happy Election Day. I think the margin, according to this new Noble Insights poll, the margin between Governor Spencer Cox and challenger Representative Phil Lyman, it's a little more narrow than I would have guessed it to be. However, I certainly think that turnout is going to have a huge impact. I've been looking at a heat map of ballots, percentage of total Republican ballots that have been returned so far throughout the state. And what I'm looking at right now, Dave and Debbie, is that turnout among rural counties, Republicans in the more rural counties throughout Utah have almost twice the number of ballots already turned in than the more urban counties like Utah County, Salt Lake County, and Davis County. Certainly that will have an impact on the governor's race and other statewide races. We know that in 2020, Governor Spencer Cox struggled a bit in some of the more rural counties. He did not win several rural counties. So Phil Lyman, I don't know that he really is in striking distance, but if he is going to pull it off, turnout in rural counties will be the difference.
So right now, according to that latest polling, we're seeing Spencer Cox lead by about 13 percentage points. Are you saying that's closer than you anticipated, or do you expect it to get even more narrow?
It's closer than I anticipated, Dave. I would have put my money on Governor Spencer Cox being at about 65% at this time. Of course, with the margin of error in there that is nearly 5%, that can move a little bit. Right. But I do think a margin of 13% at this stage in the primary, it does indicate that Phil Lyman has picked up some momentum and that voters, at least to some degree, are responding to Phil Lyman. I think a good part of this, Dave, is really the conflict within the Utah Republican Party about party-first Republican voters versus Trump-first Republican voters. That's something that KSL TV's Lindsay Aerts referenced with you both last segment. This is the ultimate decision point in this primary election. I think that is really helping Phil Lyman, who otherwise would be a relatively little-known representative from Blanding.
If by the end of the day or the end of the week we see that Lyman showing, even if it's not victorious, if it's still a strong showing, does that influence Governor Cox at all, or does he change his approach at all for the general election, or what he focuses on, or does he just move forward and give that very little thought?
Yeah, it's a good question, Dave. I think that Spencer Cox has really played this election cycle very, very well. He's been very smart with how he has kind of bridged the gap between communicating to more centrist, more moderate Republican voters, while also this last legislative session, we saw Governor Cox really step out on some of the more controversial social issues within the Republican Party. So he has managed, I think, to really bridge a divide in a way. I don't see him changing that strategy, that messaging. Governor Spencer Cox is leading into his brand of a more compassionate, disagree better conservative. I think he's on a track, Dave, that has served him really well, and I don't see him adjusting going forward.
Taylor Morgan with KSL at Night, he's co-hosts that show quite often. Are you working tonight, Taylor?
Oh, Debbie, it's election night, so we don't have a KSL at Night show. We have special election coverage tonight there. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to be all over the place. I may not sleep tonight. We'll see when the results are in and how many ballots are still outstanding.
When we talk about these poll numbers, I want to make it clear that this is of likely voters. And my understanding is the number of people who were polled is just under 500 people who responded to the poll, Taylor. And let's flip back to the Senate race for Mitt Romney's seat. You have current Representative John Curtis leading out over Riverton Mayor Trent Staggs by about 20 percentage points. But then you have former House Speaker Brad Wilson polling at about 9%. What are your thoughts? Just with Speaker Wilson, running. I suppose I thought, as you thought, with the Cox-Lyman campaign and those numbers, I would have thought Brad Wilson would have seen greater numbers in this latest poll.
Yeah, Debbie, that's a very good point. This is certainly something that is so interesting. I will maybe point out that to some degree we are seeing the curse of the Utah speaker play out again with Brad Wilson. And this curse that I kind of referred to jokingly is the fact that we have seen in history time and time again that speakers of the Utah House of Representatives believe that their role as speaker can somehow scale and translate to a statewide office or a congressional seat. And that just doesn't happen. We saw something similar play out with former Speaker of the Utah House, Greg Hughes. Brad Wilson was first in the race for this open U.S. Senate seat. He also has put in millions and millions of dollars of his own money, yet today he stands at 9% in the latest polling. He hasn't moved that number really at all since he officially announced his campaign back in September of 2023. So he has not moved the needle. A lot of this just comes down to name ID. John Curtis had the clear advantage with that going in, and John Curtis has done nothing but extend that advantage going into Election Day.
Is there anything that would explain that? Because as far as the Speaker of the House, that's a very powerful position, obviously something that you can run on a record. And I know Brad Wilson has pointed off into the fact that he led Utah through these huge tax cuts, over $1 billion in tax cuts. Why is that not resonating on a congressional or federal level?
Yeah, Brad Wilson is such an interesting case, Dave, just as you explained. Brad Wilson was a highly popular, highly effective Speaker of the House. He served in that position for 5 years. He was highly regarded by his colleagues in both parties. He really accomplished a lot of very big things, yet the issue there is no matter how good you are and how effective you are as a leader of the Utah House, nobody really knows you outside of political insiders and outside of legislators. Voters in Washington County and Iron County really have no idea who Brad Wilson is. And it really does come down to name ID in a race like this. John Curtis, having served as a representative for the 3rd District, had a huge advantage with name ID going in.
Taylor, thank you for joining us. Best of luck today. I know there's going to be a lot of energy drinks in your future. That's what my crystal ball says. Lots of energy drinks in your future. Host of KSL at 9. Good luck tonight.
And as Taylor, tonight, tomorrow, the next day, as Taylor pointed out, we do have special ongoing coverage throughout the day and into the evening right here on KSL News Radio as the first batch of ballots begins to drop after the polls close, the polls and also the drop boxes that are available today. Just another reminder, do not take that ballot to a post office. You had to have it postmarked as of yesterday. If you still have the ballot and driving around with it in the bottom of your purse or under the seat of your car, grab it and head to a drop box. We have lots of information on where you can find a drop box near you at kslnewsradio.com. Straight ahead, really the fate of the United States Senate lies in the West. At least that's what the Deseret News is talking about. So we're going to talk about that too next with Boyd Matheson.
It's 9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes. Let's look at our top stories for this half hour. Polling locations and drop boxes, as Debbie was just talking about, open until 8 o'clock tonight. A lot of Utahns have already cast their votes with the highest overall voter turnout in the Wasatch Front so far in Morgan and Davis counties. Salt Lake City residents will pay about $400 more a year in fees and taxes after the city council approved the budget. City spokesman Andrew Wittenberg says the budget includes a boost in garbage fees, tax increases for libraries, and utility costs like water, sewer, stormwater, and streetlights.
Through public utilities infrastructure project, our new water treatment facility that will come online in the next 18 months. These are all big ticket items that require investment.
The budget includes a 26% increase in salaries for the mayor and city council members. The money will also improve the public restrooms along the Jordan River and in parks. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Part of President Biden's latest student loan forgiveness program has been blocked by 2 federal judges in Kansas and Missouri. It stops future implementation of the SAVE program. It ties student loan repayments to a borrower's income. 8 million Americans are enrolled in this program. Your money at this moment, the markets are headed in 2 different directions. If you look at the Dow, it's now down 260 points. That's about 0.7%. The S&P is up by 14, now 15 points. The NASDAQ, however, headed the other way. It's up a full percentage point this hour with a gain of 187 points. Speaking of gaining, temperatures are gaining. We'll be back at the triple-digit mark again today. But what about tomorrow and Thursday? Might mean some rain. Your forecast is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
We had the chance yesterday to speak to one of the owners of Renaissance Ranch, and one thing that I took away from that, Debbie, is their commitment to family. And if folks are struggling with addiction, you have a loved one or a family member that is struggling with addiction, Renaissance Ranch wants to help you and your entire family get through this together.
I really loved our conversation with Christine yesterday. And Renaissance Ranch is faith-based, clinically proven for more than 20 years. And what I really appreciate about their program is that they offer the entire family hope and help, including these free online support and education classes for family members of those who are struggling with addiction.
These classes are free. They're online. You can just jump on as many as you want. They're taught for spouses, for parents. There's a women's support group, even a couples recovery group.
Super easy to find these classes, and she told us they're all over Zoom. So it's so convenient for family members. You can sit at home and do this. You could sit in your car and go to these online classes. All you need to do is go to renaissanceranch.com.
Yeah, more than 1,000 people have attended these classes just last month. Again, free online classes open to the public at renaissanceranch.com.
You need to meet my aunt. Her name is Rochelle Morris, and she's running for Salt Lake County Council. She's super smart, and she really cares about people. She wants Salt Lake County to be a great place for kids. That means safe parks, safe streets, good rec centers, and making sure taxes go down instead of up. Go to voterochellemorris.com to learn more.
Thanks, Zoe and Tilly. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I'm running to make Salt Lake County work better for all of us. With my background in managing money in the private sector, I'm committed to cutting waste, holding the county accountable, and maximizing and protecting your tax dollars for you. Together, we can ensure Salt Lake County is a great place to live for many years to come. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I approve this message. Learn more at voterochellemorris.com.
That's voterochellemorris.com.
Paid for by Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council.
As CEO, CTO, COO, or anyone who owns or operates a company, you've got plenty of titles and, of course, grand ideas. What you may be short on is time and qualified personnel to bring that next big idea to life. Meet DevSimplify. The team, the experience, and the expertise to bring custom software and apps to life. DevSimplify specializes in building market-ready software, from SaaS, mobile and web apps, to custom e-commerce and system integrations. DevSimplify handles design, development, branding, even the big launch, collaborating with your existing brilliant team or managing the project all the way from start to finish. The experts at DevSimplify know just how complex and time-consuming developing software can be. At DevSimplify, it's simply what they do. Schedule your consultation and make your software vision a reality from design to launch so you can focus on what you do best, running your business. DevSimplify.com. DevSimplify.com.
Time again for traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Len Thomas, how we looking?
Well, Tim, into this summer day, it's a good-looking drive at this point. Northbound 15 just a bit below speeds from the south interchange to 5400 south. And at construction, eastbound I-80 slow toward the airport from 7200 west to 5600 west. And up near the turnoff to Park City, traffic is slow from Kimball Junction over to Silver Creek Junction. Use Superior Water and Air for all your HVAC and plumbing needs. Call 974-9090 or visit superiorwaterandair.com. Superior Water and Air. I'm Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
We've got an excessive heat warning in effect today. We can expect highs of 100 degrees, clear, sunny skies, and, tomorrow we're going to get a little break, not only in temperature, but also about a 30% chance of showers. Thursday, that jumps to 40%, so we might get a little relief in the afternoons, but right now in Salt Lake City, it's already 81 degrees. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Your voice, your vote 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Dave came marching into the conference room on the second floor today to pitch a story that he read all about in the Deseret News. So we all climbed on board and read through it. It's entitled "The Fate of the Senate Lies in the West," which made me feel so proud.
It's 37 pages long. That was a long article.
It's a great article. So Democrats hold a very, very tight majority in the Senate, 51-49. And the Deseret News, it breaks down like what states count the most right now. 23 of those seats in the Senate are up for grabs.
Now, what's not up for grabs is Utah's Senate seat, in the sense that it's going to be held by a Republican. It has been every decade since the 1970s. I think we've gone back to the 70s last time a Democrat won that Senate seat. So Boyd, even though it's kind of determined here, what's going on in the surrounding areas and which races are you most intrigued by?
So I think the one that I'm most interested in is actually the Montana race. I think the John Tester race is really an interesting one, and I think that one could well be the one that decides the Senate. John Tester's very well liked in the state of Montana. He's a Democrat. It's a very Republican space these days in Montana. Although Montana kind of ebbs and flows a little bit. They do things differently there, I think is the way people put it. But John Tester, he's a very likable guy. He's very well respected on both sides of the aisle in the Senate. But I think he's got his hands full. There's a lot of money going into the state of Montana. So that's going to be one to really keep your eye on, especially as we move into the fall on the general election. Because it could well be that whether it's Montana or our neighbors to the south in Arizona and Nevada are also going to be very tight and very crucial.
I got to hand it, Boyd Matheson, by the way, of Inside Sources, joining us early today because it's primary election day, and Boyd will continue his coverage live into the afternoon. I got to hand it to Samuel Benson, who dropped this article in the Deseret News. He says in Montana, with its huge land mass but small population, there are more cows than people across the state. Tester's reelection to a fourth term has a small town feel. And he says he's a farmer and a butcher. He's missing 3 fingers on his left hand because of an accident in a meat grinder. But he says Tester's an old school Democrat, is fairly popular due to the fact that he's very pragmatic. Yeah. But you're suggesting that that seat could be at risk for Tester.
Yeah, no question about it. And John Tester knows it. And he is just a good old boy. He's from the farm. He's from the ranch. Missing fingers, as you said. We're actually going to have Sam Benson's going to join us. He's been on the trail for the Deseret News throughout the presidential cycle and continues to travel the country. He's going to join us at 1:05 today to get into a few other places on the campaign trail. But with John Tester, it's always interesting. Steve Daines, who's the other senator from Montana, used to be the representative, and I teased him when he won election. I'm like, you just gave up half your power because they only have one congressional representative. So he was it for Montana. Now he has to share. It's a two for
somebody else
with the Senate. So, but John Tester he's doing the work. He's definitely out there, and I think that's why there's that small town feel, which I kind of love. I mean, it's this whole idea that regardless of your population, every state gets 2 senators. I think that's an important thing in our constitutional republic. It was part of the Grand Compromise, and so it does matter. And yet, it feels very, very small because everything it is cows and people, and it's a lot of driving. And so it does have that real folksy kind of feel to it, and kind of interesting, just to kind of give you some perspective on a lot of the other elections going on today, not just here in the state of Utah. Remember, New York has a primary today. And on the Democratic side of the aisle, there is a vicious campaign going on. AOC is involved with the incumbent.
With Jamal Bowman.
Yeah, Jamal Bowman. $25 million for a congressional race. Now, we can't even fathom that kind of money in all of our races combined in the state of Utah. But in a single congressional district in the state of New York, over $25 million have been spent on a primary. And so, again, it kind of gives you some perspective in terms of all of that.
Well, and part of what I'm glad you brought that up, because I was thinking that Jamal Bowman did something, right? He came out, he was very against the war in Gaza, and has been very vocal, and that's kind of what has led to him being primaried, and it has become so fiery. Was there anything that John Tester did that maybe looks like he will be challenged, or maybe he might lose his seat, or is it an indictment on his party that might threaten his seat?
I think it's much more about the party. Because he's very well liked in the state of Montana.
There was no scandal. There was nothing.
No, he sort of has a Joe Manchin kind of feel. So he is a Democrat in a pretty Republican space, but he gets along with people. He's a straight shooter, and I think the challenge for him is more party and more connected to the president and control of the Senate than it is John Tester himself. And so I think it's one of those where being the incumbent sometimes becomes not an advantage, but a burden to carry. And when the president of your own party is not popular in the state, again, it's kind of that down ballot effect of Joe Biden's going to struggle in Montana. And as a result, I think that hurts John Tester.
Go ahead, Dave.
We will look very closely at Tester. Is there another race? Does Arizona, does Nevada? Which one do you think Republicans have the best chance of gaining ground.
I think Nevada is probably the best chance. Arizona's still really interesting to me. It's very purpley in Arizona these days, and so Carrie Lake, of course, is the Republican candidate there. She's very controversial. Former newscaster, you know how those newscasters are, Debbie. But so she's very polarizing, even within the Republican Party. So that will be kind of a fractured moment there. Nevada is an interesting one. I think it's lining up a little better for the Republicans, but for the same reason as Montana, because President Biden is very unpopular in the state of Nevada, and so I think that will be a benefit to the Republicans in the Senate as well.
Boyd, thank you. Look forward to Inside Sources and all of your breakdowns this week.
And we'll be here all day today. We'll be with Jeff Kaplan starting at 7 p.m. We'll take you through the night, election night coverage, and wall-to-wall KSL's got you covered. And so we'll leave the light on, and hopefully the pizza will come.
We will be here. The results will start dropping right after polls close at 8 o'clock tonight. So if you have to walk away for a moment, here's a life hack for you. You can always download our free KSL News Radio app by texting the word app to 57500 right now. We'll get you hooked up with that free app, and then you can take Boyd and company everywhere you go today and tomorrow. Straight ahead, Boyd, I know you've been talking about this, the big issues heading into the general election. One of the top issues for a lot of Americans and Utahns is our personal financial situation. It is top of mind. I don't meet anybody out there who doesn't say, I'm worried about my finances. Straight ahead, a growing number of Americans very, very uneasy about their emergency savings. So you don't have to wait for the polls to open in November for My Life Hacks to get $1,000 in an emergency savings account in just a matter of months. That's next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hello, I'm former Governor Gary Herbert. I've known Spencer Cox for over 15 years. His commitment to Utah and to our future is unmatched. In his first term, he passed record tax cuts while increasing teachers' salaries and funding for education. Now more than ever, we need a strong, principled, conservative leadership in this state. I trust Spencer Cox completely. Vote to keep Utah strong. Re-elect Spencer Cox as governor.
Paid for by friends of Spencer Cox.
She wants a diamond, and you want to give her one. Sierra West Jewelers carries beautiful laboratory-grown diamonds with 90 pointers starting at only $499, 1 carat starting at only $789, and 2 carats start at $1,698. If it's fine jewelry you want, find it at Sierra West Jewelers, across from the malls in Sandy, Orem, and Murray, or at SierraWestJewelers.com.
Sign up for KSL text alerts and you could win cash. Text the word cash to 57500 for a chance to win $250. That's cash to 57500. Plus, you'll get breaking news and traffic updates right to your phone. Want to win more prizes? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking Utah Jazz news. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply. For an alternate entry method and complete contest rules, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
When it's hot outside, air conditioners struggle to keep up. Parts are under more stress, and sometimes those parts fail. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and no one helps more homeowners maintain and repair their air conditioners than Any Hour Services. As a matter of fact, last year, over 30,000 homeowners called Any Hour Services for help maintaining and repairing their systems. Any Hour Services has over 100 HVAC technicians to help with everything from maintenance and repair to installing a new system. This summer, there'll be a lot of people told they need to replace their air conditioner, and they'll wonder, do I really need to? If you're told you need to replace your air conditioner and you still have questions, Any Hour Services can give you a second opinion and let you know what options are available. Maybe it just needs a little maintenance or a small repair. Maybe it does need to be replaced, but if you don't feel good about being told you need to replace your air conditioner, don't ignore those feelings. Call Any Hour Services for help with air conditioner maintenance, repair, or to schedule a free second opinion. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With almost 9,000 reviews on Google and countless before and after pictures and videos, SodaWeightLoss.com has helped people turn their lives around, get off the medications, and stay healthy for the rest of their life. Like Nick, who let go of 42 pounds in 5 weeks.
Before this, I was pre-diabetic. I had high cholesterol and acid reflux. And when I went to the doctor last week, I had none of those things. She took me off all of my medicines.
It's been almost a year since my doctor told me I was type 2 diabetic, which was a real sobering moment. But as it turns out, the wake-up call I'd been needing. He put me on medication, but said it was still early enough to be reversed if I made some life changes. With the help and encouragement of Soda's amazing nutritionists and dietitians, I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months. Now I finally like how I look, but more importantly, I'm no longer diabetic, and even my sleep apnea has dramatically improved. Don't wait anymore. Go to SodaWeightLoss.com to get started. SOTA weightloss.com. SOTA stands for, say it with me, state of the art.
Who is the most interesting candidate for Senate? John Curtis, of course. Serving as mayor, he didn't just improve public services, he transformed Provo into one of the best-run cities in the country, all while cutting the budget, leaving with an unheard of 94% approval rating. In Congress, Curtis was named one of the most effective lawmakers. Curtis voted repeatedly to stop Washington's reckless spending and secure the border. Protecting farmers and ranchers from government overreach, he transferred more federal land to Utah than anyone else in state history. He authored legislation in Congress to hold China accountable. Now John Curtis is running for Senate. Unlike typical politicians, Curtis gets things done. Vote conservative John Curtis for U.S. Senate in the Republican primary on or before June 25th. EDF Action Votes is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by EDF Action Votes, edfactionvotes.org, and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Master Electrical Services, home of the upfront pricing guarantee.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, the number and intensity of major wildfires more than doubled in the last 20 years, North America and Australia being hit the hardest. Second, Salt Lake City police are investigating after finding a body between 2 freeway ramps. The body was found between the 1300 South on-ramp to I-15 and the 900 South on-ramp from I-15. And third, the Division of Wildlife Resources and the Utah Department of Environmental Quality are investigating the deaths of 500 fish at Cove Pond. We're going to look for a high today, triple digits, 100 degrees, and right now in Salt Lake City, it's 82. Let's get you back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
We have to talk about our money and our personal finances because people are talking about it when it comes to who they're going to vote for. Particularly, I think, more in the general election than maybe some of the state races. Today, of course, being primary day, a lot of decisions will be made on the Republican side of things that will determine who will be on the ballot in the general election in November, Dave. But I'm looking at this new bank rate report card. They actually call it an annual emergency fund report. And that's the $1,000 or $2,000 that, you might have set aside or don't have set aside for an emergency. Tire blows out, you need a new tire, whatever. HVAC system shuts down in, July in your house and you need, $400 or $500 repair. It could also mean that, swath of money you have set aside in case something happens on the job front and you need 3 months worth of bills just to kind of tide you over until you get your next job.
I'm so glad you were talking about all these things that happened to me just barely. My mom just replaced an AC unit. I replaced 4 tires on my van, and I had to repair a blowout on my truck. Yeah, the emergency savings is completely obliterated right now, and now I've got to build it back up. But I can't say I'm terribly surprised that 60% of Americans right now are uncomfortable with their level of emergency savings.
We're spending our money everywhere else to stay afloat. Groceries are costing more. Rents are costing more. Now some of our listeners are now trying to figure out a way to start paying back those student loans that they took out. That's now they got to pay those back again. Whatever the case may be, maybe you blew a set of, all 4 tires all at once. You needed all 4. And by the way, if you blow one tire, why is it when I blow one tire, I'm like, I'll just replace that tire? We can't replace just one tire.
It's so true. They'll be out of balance. This one's going to be too tall. That one's too short.
And I'm like, I was thinking this is going to be a $200 thing, which, by the way, that's not the case anymore. And now I'm $1,200 into this day. So let's talk about the bank rate numbers. And I'll give you 3 life hacks that I've used to get an emergency savings set aside that actually worked for me. Like, so often we hear, just pass on the lattes. Okay, that doesn't work for me. All right, I'll be the first one in line tomorrow morning at Starbucks if I tell myself I'm going to restrict lattes, okay? So I'm going to give you the life hacks that actually worked for me. Okay. Dave, you spoiler alert, absolutely dropped that number 60%. That's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
To think something bad's going to happen and you're just not going to have any money. You're going to have to turn to the credit card, which interest rates now are 20-25%. And we've all been there, right?
Yes.
So the common advice recommends, according to Bank Rate, you have 3 months worth of expenses in the savings account. That's really, really hard to do. But I'm going to give you some hope in just a moment.
Because if you're looking at it, if you're making, say, $60,000 a year, that's $5,000 a month. So if you're just making $60,000, do you have $15,000 stashed away in savings?
I'm going to say do the after-tax amount on that. Like, $60,000 a year divided by 5. Yeah, let's do the after-tax amount because that's the amount of money you're going to be getting anyway to set aside. That's the amount of money you should be living on anyway. So whatever the after-tax amount is, work toward that, but work toward an emergency savings first. So for that tire blowout, you're going to want $1,000, $1,200, maybe $1,500 in an emergency fund, because the hope here is that if you lost your job, there's a ton of, maybe it is not long term, but there's a ton of side hustle options now that we didn't have when I started, working. You could go to an app right now, sign up for a side hustle, and that fills in a little bit of the gap.
And unemployment as well. You can take some of those things into account.
So 27% of Americans in this survey of emergency savings say they don't have any emergency savings at all. So we got to get you there, right? 27%. It's the highest percentage since 2020. So it kind of feels like we're going backwards. And it's what we're finding is that it's millennials, the 28 to 43-year-olds, that are having the hardest time putting aside an emergency savings.
Is there a reason behind it? Is it just
raising
that
kids?
Yeah,
you're raising
right
kids.
Right in the meaty part of raising kids.
Yeah. Every time
mortgages,
you turn around, somebody's got to go, to the ER.
Orthodontics.
Yeah, braces cost more, or somebody's got a cavity, something's not covered by insurance. They want to get they want to enroll in ballet or dance, all the things that end up costing a lot of extra money.
Another thing we have to remember, and I think this may lead to some of the uneasiness that I feel, is we have gone through 2 massive financial crises in the last 20 years. The housing crash of 2007, 2008, COVID crash. I mean, these are 2 events. I think that we're all a little bit jumpy that we've lived through. It may lead to some of that unease. That's definitely my case.
Dave and I talking about the Bank Rate survey that came out that shows many Americans feel very uncomfortable about their emergency savings situation. And so we're going to start by getting you there with a few hacks that worked for me. The first thing I did back when I was in my millennial years, I guess that doesn't really count, but when I was your age, is I did the transfer automatically from my paycheck. Automatically went to a separate savings, got, it was a couple $100 a paycheck, and before I knew it, by the end of the year, I had $5,000 sitting in that savings, went untouched.
So it was a direct deposit to a totally separate account.
Totally separate account.
You never saw the money.
I never saw the money. I didn't have to physically transfer it myself. It was just done for me. Did that with, our friends up in HR. You just signed up for something and they transferred it. The other hack that works for me is I keep a savings account in another bank or in another savings app. Just because it's totally separate, I have to actually go through some steps to get into it. It's out of sight, out of mind. The best hack that I found is I do roundups. So every time I spend money at the grocery store or at the gas station, it rounds up to the next $2. I do $2 roundups. And then I put an extra amount in the Roundup app. I mean, there's all kinds of different apps. I use Acorns. There's Capital. There's other. Your bank might do roundups for you. I was able in the last 6 months to get to $1,100.
Boom.
I'm there.
Awesome. Great tips.
I hope the hacks might work for somebody else too.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. About a quarter of all eligible voters in Utah have cast their ballots early in this primary election. That's according to data shared by Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson. So far, the counties with the highest turnout are Paiute, San Juan, and Rich counties, all at over 42%. Utah County has the lowest early voter turnout percentage-wise in the entire state at just over 16.5%. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Ford is recalling 10-year-old F-150 pickup trucks. ABC's Mike Dubusky has more.
Certain Ford F-150 pickup trucks from the 2014 model year could unexpectedly downshift into first gear, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. That could increase the risk of a crash, which is why Ford is now recalling more than 550,000 trucks.
Ford had more recalls last year than any other manufacturer, 6 million vehicles. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day, 319 points right now, while the NASDAQ is up 210. And our KSL weather, another hot day today, and then storms possible tomorrow. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
One of the things I love about Master Electrical, Debbie, and we've talked about this for years, it seems like, is their upfront pricing guarantee, where they give you a bid and they're going to honor that bid.
Yeah, and that's the amount of money you pay when the job is done. And now we have some really super exciting news. We've also been talking about Master Electrical Services joined Mountain Home Services. I'm so glad about this because, of course, we know Master Electrical Services offers awesome service when it comes to our electrical needs, like EV chargers, generators, recessed lighting. Well, now that they've joined Mountain Home Services, they can help you with other things.
Yeah, they're HVAC, heating and air, plumbing. They actually installed my furnace years ago. You may know them as Mountain Air. This is part of Mountain Home Services. You've got Mountain Air, you've got Master Electrical teaming up together, and they will give you that 100% satisfaction guarantee.
With the upfront pricing guarantee that you just talked about as well, which I think is awesome. So, Master Electrical Services, the name you've trusted since 1954. They're the company we trust, and so can you.
Just go to mountainhomeutah.com, mountainhomeutah.com, or give them a call at 801-543-2222. That's 801-543-2222.
We need Colby Jenkins. His commitment to the Constitution, fiscal responsibility, limited government, and individual liberty make him the best candidate to represent Utah's values in Washington.
The problem in Washington isn't just Democrats. Half of the Republicans in Congress vote for deficit spending, endless wars, and unconstitutional mandates. That's why we need better Republicans like Colby Jenkins.
Paid for by the Constitutional Conservatives Fund PAC. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
And I said to myself, sit down, you're rocking the boat.
Join Utah Festival Opera and Musical Theater July 5th through August 3rd for show-stopping performances in Logan. Professional performers from Broadway and all over bring you Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats, the lively classic Guys and Dolls, the hilarious Anything Goes with spectacular tap dancing and music by Cole Porter, cult classic Little Shop of Horrors, and Puccini's opera Gianni Schicchi with its sequel Buoso's Ghost. Stop the commercial! I'm interrupting myself to tell you that Utah students K through 12 can get a free ticket to all Utah Festival performances this summer. Claim yours online now. Where was I? Oh yeah. Cult classic Little Shop of Horrors and Puccini's opera Gianni Schicchi with its sequel Buoso's Ghost. Plus, late-night cabarets, 5 concerts, breakfast with the stars, academy classes, and more. Tickets at utahfestival.org. utahfestival.org.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Len Thomas.
Well, Dan, we're rolling into the mid-morning with a stretch of busy traffic southbound I-15 in Kaysville from before 200 North to the Kaysville Ponds. In the Sugar House area, the sensors were showing some slow traffic. Didn't look really too slow in the cameras, but quite a bit of traffic there eastbound, slowing to Foothill Drive from 17th East. Heading up Big Cottonwood Canyon, you're going to see alternating traffic at the bottom of the canyon up to about the Lake Blanche trailhead as they work on some construction up there. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off 10 windows or more. AdvancedWindowProducts.com. Affordable windows guaranteed. I'm Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny and hot today, high near 100, then a little cooler tomorrow and Thursday with a chance of thunderstorms. And right now, 82 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
The KSL investigative team has done an excellent job. And we're watching a story on KSL 5 TV with Daniela Rivera talking about research that they did, a dozen years worth of data that they looked at and cases that they looked at regarding claims of election fraud, Dave.
I'm so glad they did this for a couple of different reasons. Number one, the last several years, the last 4 years, is the first time I've really experienced people challenging or questioning the election process, right? I mean, we've had some instances in the past, Bush versus Gore, hanging chads, stuff has happened over the years, but it feels like these last few years has been the real concern. And here at Utah, we've done a lot of things to try to ease people's concerns about whether or not an election is fair. And we've put a lot of things in place. And I really appreciate that the KSL investigative team looked into this, looked over a 12-year period and said, okay, let's look how many fraud cases actually happened here in Utah.
And we'll get Daniela Rivera on the phone in just a moment. But the real aha moment in her report came when she sat down, at least to me, came when she sat down to talk about election fraud with Ryan Cowley, who's the Utah Director of Elections, and then also talked with Josh McCrane, who's a political scientist. So let's listen to that portion of Daniela's report.
Have we ever found evidence of fraud in Utah significant enough to sway the result of an election?
No, we've never seen fraud significant enough in Utah to sway the results of an election.
University of Utah Assistant Political Science Professor Josh McCrane notes there's little to be gained by trying to game the system.
You're not going to affect the outcome of the election, and you're going to get caught, right? So in that sense, the risk-reward makes no sense.
That's why, he says, we don't see widespread voter fraud in America.
There's very little to zero empirical evidence that there's anything like voter fraud in U.S. elections.
Joining us right now is Daniela Rivera from the KSL investigative team. Daniela, can you give us an idea, as you look back over the last 12 years, how many cases of voter fraud was there in Utah?
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having me. So looking at the time period from July 1st, 2012 through the end of May this year, just about 12 years there, we see a total of 32 cases of potential violations of our election code in Utah that were prosecuted.
Which is, I think, given all we hear about concerns and claims, it's very, very few cases when you start looking over a 12-year period. And I know you reported, Daniela, that in some years there were no cases, correct?
Oh, absolutely. There's multiple years where there wasn't a single case. In 2016, we had one filed. Up until this year, 2018 was kind of the biggest year with 7 cases filed. But, this year we've seen 12. So you can say that is a high. It's kind of a spike in the last 12-year period. But just to put this into context, if we look at data, just the sheer number of criminal, felony, and misdemeanor cases our court system handles each year, all of these cases from the last 12 years combined wouldn't even make up 1% of the cases our court system handled in its last fiscal year. So when we say it's rare, it's because it's really not even a drop in the bucket compared to the other types of crime our system is handling.
Well, and Dave pointed out when we were talking about this in the morning meeting, you think about all the ballots that are cast in the last 12 years in Utah.
Millions.
So put this in some sort of context in terms of cases for us. Sometimes we've heard in the past that, somebody gets busted, if you will, in air quotes, for, signing on their ballot on behalf of somebody else, like who's out of town or maybe is on a trip somewhere, and then they get busted for that. Are those types of cases like the ones you found? Anything like that, Daniela?
Yeah, certainly. And we know that we hear from election officials that that is really the most common type of election fraud they encounter. And whether it's well-meaning or not, it is fraud to sign someone else's ballot for them, even if it's a favor or you have permission. And so not all of those are going to rise to the level of criminal prosecution. I think that the system is most often focused on compliance. But there are cases where we see it was perhaps a mix-up. In the last 12 years, there's only been one case where there was a prosecution for a charge of false impersonation, double voting. And, in 2022, when we did a story similar to this, our team reached out to that person who was prosecuted, and he explained, oh, my goodness, it was my first time voting in 2020. I misunderstood how provisional ballots worked, and I accidentally voted a second time on election day. So it wasn't someone trying to go to the polls and intentionally cast 2 votes. But when that does happen, it's caught and it's turned over. Some of the cases we're looking at in just the last year here deal with potential fraudulent signatures submitted on candidate petitions in the 2nd District. And then there's a couple cases of alleged fraud with voter registration. Some folks who attempted to register to vote in Grand County using parcels of vacant land that they own. And those, of course, are pending prosecution now. Everyone's innocent till proven guilty. But those are the types of cases that are caught and being prosecuted.
That was one example that you used in your story. Where was it the judge that was talking to a man and he said, yeah, I had purchased this piece of land. I was planning on building it. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, so that actually just unfolded yesterday morning. This individual was charged with fraudulent voter registration, knowing you're ineligible, goes before a judge, and the prosecutor actually said, we'd like to dismiss this case because we have more information now, and we understand that when he registered to vote, he also had plans to build a residence on this property. And then the man explained to the judge that once his plans to build a residence fell through, he made efforts to cancel that registration, and there was no vote cast, but it was flagged by our system by a clerk or someone in the clerk auditor's office in Grand County. And that's what took that man to court yesterday morning.
Daniela Rivera, thank you for joining us, KSL 5 investigative reporter. And that was an aha moment, Debbie, when I saw that number that as they look back over the last 12 years, only 32 cases had been brought against individuals as far as voter fraud or some sort of disparity when it comes to Utah elections. That is, again, a fraction of a fraction.
Yeah, you brought that up, as I said earlier, that given the number of ballots that are cast, say in the last 12 years, that truly, it's not, I don't even know if you'd call that a drop in the bucket. I'm really glad that KSL 5 looked into that, because I think that it certainly answered a lot of questions that I've been hearing circulating over the years, and not from a lot of people, but from a vocal few.
Now, we've talked to several county clerks, and one thing they said where the quote-unquote fraud, it is fraud, but where the fraud is happening is so often, Daniela referenced it, is say the entire family gets the ballots and you fill it out. You know exactly, for example, I know how my wife is going to vote, and I fill out her ballot and maybe I sign her name. And she's like, that's fine. Go ahead and sign it, Dave. I'm busy. I'm taking care of the kids. That is where a lot of these clerks are seeing the quote-unquote fraud. Now, that doesn't lead to handcuffs, right? What it does is it leads to a phone call, a rebuke. They tell them how dangerous it is. It's used more as a teaching moment, and then they require them to well, that gets spoiled. That ballot gets spoiled.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
It doesn't always lead to prosecution. So those numbers, the 32 cases, is not to say that there's only been 32 people that have ever signed their husband's ballot. It's saying those are the 32 cases that were taken before a judge.
So straight ahead, let's ask opinion editor Jay Evenson of the Desert News. He just dropped a brand new opinion. Do you need to be convinced that our elections are handled correctly? Jay's in the house next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
3 days only. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Save thousands on hot tubs and swim spas. It's a major manufacturer's liquidation of hundreds of in-stock spas. Utah State Fair Park. Hot tubs discounted 40 to 80% to the lowest possible price, starting at $29.99. Free professional delivery. Take possession tomorrow, next week, next month, or next season. The Hot Tub and Swim Spa Sale. Utah State Fair Park. Shop over a dozen models of swim spas from 11 feet to over 19 feet. Swim spas offer low-impact exercise, active family fun, unsurpassed relaxation, and installation in one day. The Hot Tub and Swim Spa Sale. Everything must go. Free parking, free admission. You can't afford to miss this. It's a major manufacturer's liquidation of hundreds of in-stock spas.
Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
The Hot Tub and Swim Spa Sale. Utah State Fair Park. Visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
In a state where the heat can be really hot,
At or near 100 degrees.
how will you stay cool?
Probably in the pool again. I drive with all my windows down.
Drink lots of water.
June Heat Wave, the sequel, playing this week at an outside near you. Rated G for genuinely hot.
Who is the most interesting candidate for Senate? John Curtis, of course.
Debbie, you know my favorite place in the summer is Bear Lake. My family lives up there. We go up there as often as we can. So this is a perfect opportunity to talk to Tammy Lenhart, the Executive Tourism Director, the Bear Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau. Tammy, thanks for joining us. I love it up there. How beautiful is it right now?
It's so beautiful. It's finally warmed up, but not too hot, not like you guys are having. But it is wonderful. It really is.
So, Tammy, what are some of the fun things you've got going on up there as we head into July?
So we've already had some in June, but oh my goodness, we've got a great July lineup. Let's see. First of all, of course, we've got 4th of July coming right up. It's going to start in Paris, Idaho, where they're going to have the parade, the breakfast, a lot of things happening at the Tabernacle, and then ending here at the Heritage Park in Garden City, we are going to have Chase Beckham here. And have you ever heard him sing?
Oh, incredible. Fantastic.
awesome.
That's a great get.
Yes.
And fireworks.
It is.
And
And it's
fireworks.
free.
Oh,
And
that's
fireworks after.
So cool, Tammy.
And then obviously
know.
once we start moving into the later part of the summer, I always come up for Raspberry Days.
Oh, Raspberry Days is my favorite. We're just hoping we don't get any windstorms, but they're mild, and we always, just roll with the flow. But every year we just have so many more vendors and different things, and I'm always shocked with everything that they come up with.
Tammy, last year I came paddleboarding up at Bear Lake, so make room. I'm coming paddleboarding again. Lots of people out there on the water having a great time. The weather was absolutely perfect, too.
Oh, it is, and it's really perfect now. We do have a lot more water this year, so, you're going to have to really find your place. But for a paddleboard, you don't need all that beach area, so you are going to love it.
Tammy,
just love it.
Thank you so much. If you don't mind sticking around, I want to ask you more about this cool Fierce Fighting Championship, a little MMA up in the Bear Lake area. I'll ask you about that.
Isn't that awesome?
Oh, it sounds so fun. Stick around. This is part of the Bear Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau. Bear Lake, escape the heat, have some fun. Visit bearlake.org for your 4th of July and 24th of July planning.
Join the KSL Sports Zone for Hans and Scotty's Pet Adoption Day in partnership with the Humane Society of Utah and Hercules Credit Union this Tuesday from 10 to 3 at the Humane Society of Utah in Murray.
Who is the most interesting candidate for Senate? John Curtis, of course. Serving as mayor, he didn't just improve public services, he transformed Provo into one of the best-run cities in the country, all while cutting the budget, leaving with an unheard of 94% approval rating. In Congress, Curtis was named one of the most effective lawmakers. Curtis voted repeatedly to stop Washington's reckless spending and secure the border. Protecting farmers and ranchers from government overreach, he transferred more federal land to Utah than anyone else in state history. He authored legislation in Congress to hold China accountable. Now John Curtis is running for Senate. Unlike typical politicians, Curtis gets things done. Vote conservative John Curtis for U.S. Senate in the Republican primary on or before June 25th. EDF Action Votes is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by EDF Action Votes, edfactionvotes.org, and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, about a quarter of Utah voters have already cast their ballots in this primary election. Second, it's rare for a manufacturer to recall 10-year-old vehicles, but some older Ford F-150 pickups need a transmission repair. And third, a fourplex in Orem was badly damaged by a fire overnight. 82 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Once again, happy primary election day. KSL News Radio and all of our friends here at Broadcast House, friends at the Desert News, our friends at KSL5 TV, tracking closely what's going on today as people head to the polls or drop their ballots off. Jay Evenson of the Desert News, he's the opinion editor. Love having him in-house with us, and especially today, where he's talking about whether Utahns need to be convinced the elections are handled properly, Dave.
Jay, this is such a great conversation because we just spoken with Daniela Rivera with the KSL investigative team, and she said they looked back over the last 12 years, obviously millions and millions of ballots being cast. They only found 32 examples of some sort of voter fraud, and it was all on a very small level. It wasn't widespread. It wasn't thousands of votes. But I guess I looked at that number. I thought, wow, that makes me feel great. It reaffirms what I already feel, which is my vote matters, it counts, and it's done effectively and safely.
That was such a powerful investigation, and those results really do say a lot. You have to sit back and think, what would it take if I wanted to rig an election in Utah? And elections are not handled on a state level. I don't know if people realize that, but they are handled on a county level. So there's 29 separate tabulations, 29 separate elections being carried out around the state. So you would have to somehow be able to go into each one of those counties and get people to agree with you to fix that election. And even then, there are redundancies, there are backups. It's a very difficult thing. nationwide, there are 3,143 counties. It would be so difficult to really, on a widespread basis.
You have to swear everybody to secrecy. And you know what they say about secrecy. Two can keep a secret or three can keep a secret if one's not around. It's like no one can keep a secret. So these ideas of these conspiracies, they get busted because there's always a leak, And I'm thinking, I'm almost laughing when you say that, Jay, because I'm thinking about how inept I am when it comes to downloading an app on my phone. I just think most of us have struggle with technology or resetting a password. I think you're onto something there. It was really difficult.
And people will point to problems. Cache County had some problems in the municipal election here last year, the year before. But it's the fact that that we know about those. We're finding if people decide to do something wrong, they get caught, and it's publicized. And most of the instances that we uncover where there are irregularities are people who just don't know any better. A lot of them are mothers of missionaries who are out away from Utah, and they think, well, I'll just fill in their ballot for them, and they're quickly caught because signatures don't match up to the person who registered to vote. I spoke with some prominent conservatives here in the last couple of weeks. One of them was Stan Lockhart, who's a former state Republican chairman. I spoke with Derek Monson yesterday over at the Sutherland Institute, and both of them are just adamant that elections in Utah are fair and honest. In fact, Stan is part of a group that started a new website called trustutahelections.org, where they go through a lot of this. And he recommends that people actually call and talk to their local county clerks, set up an appointment to come in and watch the ballots being counted. It's a real eye-opener. I haven't actually been there on election night. I have other things to do on election nights. But I have taken tours of the Salt Lake County office where they do that, and seen demonstrations on how they verify signatures and how they flag inconsistencies and put things aside and investigate them later. It's very impressive, and these county clerks don't get enough credit because their hearts generally are really in the right place. And we've lost 20 of our 29 clerks since 2020, and a lot of them left because of threats, and this has become a real problem in this country.
As I was looking back, and we see a little bit of a groundswell effort to change the way we vote, whether it's going back to paper ballots and filling it out and dropping it off, voting in person. It was an eye-opening experience when I went to caucus convention night, and we were handed out ballots. It was a piece of paper, and you would write in. You would write in the name that you were supporting, and we put it into a Tupperware bowl. And the argument was, this is better than running it through the county clerk's office because it's right in front of everybody, it's transparent. I thought that if that's the solution, if that's the safer version of voting, I don't know what we're doing here, because I've never once questioned my ballot. I can track my ballot. I can send it in. They'll give me updates of where it's arrived, when it's been counted. And the solution on the presidential preference poll was write it down with a piece of paper and then drop it in a Tupperware bowl.
Everyone I've talked to says the least secure method of voting is on a piece of paper, because you're relying on human beings to count those out, and human beings are notoriously inaccurate in doing that type of thing. Plus, it's far easier to commit fraud with a paper ballot than it is in a ballot that goes through a machine. And these machines are audited, and they take sample ballots and they hand count them and then check them against what the machine came out with. Sure, the little secret is not really a secret, is that there is no foolproof, 100% foolproof way of tabulating ballots. But we've found a way that is far more accurate than most, and we do not want to go back to paper ballots.
Jay Evenson, the pennant editor of the Deseret News, in studio with Dave and I right now on this primary election day. And his latest opinion, do Utahns need to be convinced their elections will be handled correctly? When you started looking at the poll results from Deseret News, Hinckley Institute of Politics from 2022, what did you find in terms of what Utahns felt?
I'm sorry.
The poll results from 2022, what did you find about in terms of how Utahns felt? It seems to me that most Utahns feel comfortable with how elections are handled.
The overwhelming majority of Utahns feel that we're doing things right in Utah. I think the numbers were 80-something% who felt that way. But it's interesting because you asked that same question about the national election, and they don't feel as confident. But the election officials I talk to say, look, this is being handled well everywhere. It's the same situation in every state. You have county clerks doing this, and they understand their duties. They take those duties very seriously, and elections are being handled correctly nationwide.
And that's one of the frustrations and the strengths of the system is that we don't do it exactly the same way as Colorado does or Nevada or California. But I think you laid out a very good case of why that is actually the strength of the system and why it would be so difficult to actually sway an election. Jay Evenson, thank you for joining us from the Deseret News.
Happy Election Day.
Oh, likewise.
Thank you. You got big plans for tonight?
Well, you bet. Keeping track of what comes in.
Right.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Jay. Always fun to have you with us. Straight ahead, a lot of cities in Utah are talking about electric bike safety, particularly when it comes to kids. Okay, I have something to say about this. We're also going to have a live interview straight ahead with somebody who's in the throes of this. Kids and e-bikes and keeping kids safe on e-bikes with the Lone Peak Police Department joining the show next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomis. KSL's top local story this hour. A fourplex was badly damaged in Orem this morning by a fire. Assistant Fire Chief Sean Hurst says they got the call around 5 a.m.
A smoker on the back of the fourplex that had been running over the night ended up catching a trailer and a car on fire and then extended into the attic.
All the people were able to get out of the fourplex safely. 3 dogs were rescued, but a cat died in the fire. Extreme wildfires on the rise around the world. A new study found that the number and intensity of major wildfires more than doubled over the past 20 years. North America and Australia being hit the hardest, with North America producing more smoke, reducing air quality, and affecting more people. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Now that he's been convicted of lying on a form about his drug use prior to buying a handgun, Hunter Biden has had his law license suspended in Washington, D.C. Hunter's attorneys are now seeking a new trial in this Delaware federal gun case. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day, 368 points right now, while the NASDAQ is up 172. And KSL weather, hot again today, and then there's a chance of thunderstorms. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
If you're looking to escape the heat and have some fun, let me tell you about Bear Lake. We've teamed up with the Bear Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau. Tammy Lenhart joins us right now as the executive director there. And Tammy, the water is high right now, isn't it, at Bear Lake?
It sure is.
Beautiful.
The highest it's been for a long time.
Lots of fun things to do. And I was saying just a few minutes ago to you, Tammy, I was up there last summer and really enjoyed paddleboarding. I brought my own paddleboard, but tell folks who are listening like what they can do on the water to have fun this summer.
Well, they can do many of things, just like you. Bring your own paddleboard. They can rent a paddleboard. You've got your kayaks there. You know, the places around that are concessionaires, they've got quite a few different options that you can rent. I always like to go on the great big inner tubes that they have. So and just laying out on the beach is wonderful. It's great.
And it's not just the water. If you don't want to play on the water, there's so many other hikes and bike rides, aren't there?
There are. You can get on that bike and you can travel around the lake. We've also got a really, really nice bike path. Starts up by the marina, kind of goes through town, and then it goes all the way down to the southwest area of the lake, which is just beautiful. And then that area where you can stop actually and just get out and walk and find a beach place right there, and it's all free along there. So it's a perfect little bike ride, and then you can just jump in the water and refresh yourself and get back on.
There's so many fun things to do. There's fireflies in the marshy land. The stargazing is unbelievable at Bear Lake. There's not a better place in Utah. I just love it up there. So if you're interested in escaping the heat, having some fun, think of Bear Lake. Go ahead, visit bearlake.org for your 4th of July and 24th of July planning.
911, what's your emergency? Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son.
On September 12, 1995, McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas.
There was no sign of forced entry. It was just as if McKay had walked out of his own free will.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, feels that justice was never truly served. Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Len Thomas.
Well, Dan, we had a crash Utah County, northbound I-15 500 east on ramp at American Fork. On the left side of the ramp, it is gone now. Otherwise, you're in pretty good shape on the freeways along the Wasatch Front. There is at the north interchange one little spot of slowing coming southbound just as you make the curve onto the I-215. I'm Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny and hot today, a high near 100. A little cooler tomorrow and Thursday with a chance of thunderstorms. And right now, 86 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomis from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Let's talk about electric bikes. Dave, I've got some strong opinions about them, especially when it comes to kids riding e-bikes. Let's start by getting more details from KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff, who's been looking into this issue.
In the past couple of weeks, both the Farmington and Lone Peak police departments have put out statements asking people to become familiar with the laws governing the use of electric bikes. In a post on X, the Farmington police chief reports responding to numerous incidents involving the illegal operation of e-bikes. He says their intent in enforcing these laws is based 100% on the safety of bicyclists, motorists, and pedestrians.
I love them. I love e-bikes. I love e-scooters. I love e-everything. I love it. They're so much fun. And I'm super grateful that I don't have 8-year-olds anymore or 12-year-olds because it would be a nonstop, Dad, can I have one? Can I have one? Can I have one? It's a little different when you're a fully grown or, older teen than if you're, a kid.
Well, I actually didn't know there were any rules because laws governing what age you had to be to ride an e-bike because I see little kids on them quite often out where I live. So let's bring on Detective with the Lone Peak Police Department, Melissa Farney. Good morning, Detective.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. First of all, give us a situation report geographically. Where is Lone Peak?
We're Alpine Highland, so North Utah County.
So not too far from Salt Lake County. So let's talk about the ages of kids and e-bikes and what kinds of problems that you guys are spotting down in that area.
Well, just like you said, you didn't realize there were rules. Yeah. We're basically just trying to fill people in on what those are. So, under 8 years old, you're not supposed to be on an e-bike at all. Like the law states, you cannot ride e-bikes if you are under 8 years old. So if you're under 14, you can ride them. So between 9 and 14, you can ride them with parent supervision, and if you're under 16, you can't ride a Class 3 bike, but you can ride everything else.
What's a Class 3 bike?
So the Class 3 bike, it's pedal assist, but it has a max speed of 28 miles per hour, and it gets into the watts, so it's a 750-watt bike.
Okay, so you're talking about e-bikes. What about e-scooters, or as I just got passed on the sidewalk yesterday, by an e-skateboard?
Well, we actually don't have any laws regarding those as of yet, so we haven't been really doing much with those, to be honest.
So when you say, Detective, when you say parent supervision, how does that work? Because it's a bike, unless it's a tandem bike. I don't know how that would work.
For instance, in Lambert Park in Alpine, there are no motorized vehicles allowed. A pedal assist bike, like a Class 1, it has no throttle and it has a max speed of 20 miles per hour, pedal assist. So if you want to take your kid to Lambert Park and ride a Class 1 e-bike together, you can do that. So like, for instance, they're mountain bikes you can ride as a family. So that would be a case of parental supervision. Or you're riding around the city. Like Class 2 and 3, you cannot ride on the sidewalk, but Class 1, you can. So
you got to really know your classes.
I know. We've posted them, and that's why we're out trying to create awareness. Like, people are riding them through parks during, like, little festivals and stuff, and it just gets dangerous because of the throttle and the speed and kids everywhere and pets, you know.
Yeah.
So are these more dangerous? How are you finding them, at least anecdotally, to be more dangerous than just a regular bike?
So far, it's more of a nuisance. We haven't seen anyone get injured yet. It's more people call us when they've almost been hit by one on a trail, or their kids were almost hit on the sidewalk because people are zooming by so quickly. So we're just trying to get awareness out to basically the ages of when you can and cannot ride. I mean, in the past, it's always been golf carts, but recently it's now the e-bike. So.
Yeah, they're switching over to. I've noticed there's been a switch, a trend over to e-bikes. Detective Melissa Farney with the Lone Peak Police Department, which is situated in Utah County, on the phone with us live because they've noticed an uptick in kids too young to legally be allowed on e-bikes, but they're riding them around, and it's creating some issues. And I know police officers don't set policy, but you just have to enforce rules and laws and ordinances set by lawmakers and public officials. But I'm just feeling sometimes when I'm out on the trails in my neighborhood that these, especially when there are trails where people are walking and then an e-bike comes zipping by at, I don't know, maybe they're doing Mach 28 miles an hour. It feels like these don't mix well. So can they be on trails at all in your community? Is there any talk about not allowing this?
Well, the Class 1 is allowed because it is pedal assist. There isn't a throttle. So the difference is Class 2 has a throttle. They're basically the same speed, but Class 2 has a throttle, which kind of almost classifies it as a motorized vehicle because you can use the throttle, so therefore it isn't allowed in our parks. Basically, we're just out. If we see kids riding them especially, that's when we're trying to make parents aware. Usually we call parents, have them come get the kids so that we can explain those nuances in the law to them.
That's fun. That's fun for everybody.
Well, and that's the thing. We love our small town feel, right? So the problems come in when parents still want it to be 1980. The problem is we have cell phones now, right? Your kids are in danger out there on the road. If they think they're a car, I mean, I don't know, too many distractions.
Yeah.
So no one under age 8 is allowed to operate an e-bike. Kids under 14 have to have a parent or guardian. And then if you're going to have one of the Class 3 bikes, which can get up to almost 30 miles an hour, 28 miles an hour, you have to be at least 16. Did I get all that right?
That is absolutely correct. Very good. I think Class 3 are mostly used for commuting. I don't know that we have a lot of that around here, but people find like in the cities that they're getting to work faster if they just take a Class 3 bike than their vehicle. So we don't have a whole lot of that yet.
Well, have fun down there. Stay safe, Detective Melissa Farney. Thanks so much with the Lone Peak Police Department for walking us through what the rules are. Like you said, Dave, thank goodness you don't have an 8-year-old begging you for an e-bike. My kids are in their 20s. Look, I just feel like you need a driver license to operate these things. So you got to be, I'm not even going to go 15 and a half or 15 and 7, whatever Utah law does regarding driver license. I think you're going to be 16 years old to operate an e-bike. What do you think about that?
Well, oh boy, it's hard because you're just riding a bike, right? It's just you're riding your bike faster, but it operates just like, yeah.
And you can't hear the things either if you're walking. You know, you can't hear them really come up behind you. Maybe with a regular bike, you could sort of hear the cling, 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 cling of the pedals. But I have a hard time hearing these. And they zip. The other issue is they go so fast, and they're riding them on these sometimes on these paved trails that really are. I'm not saying they're meant for walkers, but it's just the mix doesn't work. There's no separation at all. They zip up behind you like, on your left. Like, I don't know which way I'm going here. I just feel like I'm going to get run over by an e-bike. So I think unless you're 6, that's my take on it. What's your hot take?
I love them. I love riding them. And I went on a trip up to Alaska, and I probably went 30 miles. I can't ride a normal bike, 30 miles in the Alaskan wilderness. But an e-bike allowed me to do that. So it was an incredible experience. I love them. I absolutely had no idea that if you were under 8, you can't ride the e-bikes, because I have kids in my neighborhood right now, Debbie, 4 years old, that are on an e-bike. Now they're super tiny, they're small, they probably provide exactly, 1/10 of a horsepower. But they are e-bikes for these little kids, and toddlers are running around. I didn't realize that is breaking the law.
I'd say no way to my child. If they weren't 16 years old, they have a driver license, would they be riding an e-bike? They just wouldn't. I think they go too fast. I think the mix of pedestrians and kids who haven't passed a driver license exam
That's a good point.
There's
no training.
Fly for me.
No.
I would tell my kids it's an absolute no-go. I'm the mean mom. That's how it goes. That's the rule. And don't try to get away with riding your friend's e-bike, because I'd find out. 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Would you say no to your child riding an e-bike unless they were 16 years old and had a driver license? Do you agree with me? 801-575-TALK. If you don't, I'd also love to hear from you. Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
We need Colby Jenkins. His commitment to the Constitution, fiscal responsibility, limited government, and individual liberty make him the best candidate to represent Utah's values in Washington.
The problem in Washington isn't just Democrats. Half of the Republicans in Congress vote for deficit spending, endless wars, and unconstitutional mandates. That's why we need better Republicans, like Colby Jenkins.
Paid for by the Constitutional Conservatives Fund PAC. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Bear Lake is beautiful. I know, I've seen it. It is gorgeous right now. The water is so high. The boating is fantastic. Tammy Lenhart joins us right now, is the Executive Director of Tourism for the Bear Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau. And Tammy, I know it is fantastic. It's busy right now, but let's talk about what Bear Lake has to offer over the 4th of July and 24th.
So, like I said earlier, the 4th of July, we're celebrating, it's going to start in Paris, so Paris, Idaho. They've got the parade, the breakfast. They've got a tabernacle choir that's going to be in there. It's beautiful. And then along with the parade after that. And then, of course, that evening in Garden City, we're doing the Chase Beckham free concert with the fireworks after.
I just love that Bear Lake and Garden City, Tammy, has some great museums and a lot of history. Can you talk more about that?
We do. It starts on the Idaho side where we've got the National Oregon California Trail Center in Montpelier. It's fascinating. You just feel like you're right there. Then there's the Butch Cassidy Museum just right down the road. And then just coming south, you've got the Paris Tabernacle that's got great information in there. And while you're driving along the 89, there's a lot of markers that will show you the first Oregon Trail cut through the valley. So that's really interesting to see and stop and learn. But one of my favorites is in Randolph, and it's Wilford Woodruff Home. I always struggle.
That's a tongue twister. Yeah.
But it is for me, and I should be used to it. But it is so neat inside, and we have ladies in there that can help you, educate you, it's just a wonderful place to stop and get more information.
Well, Tammy, thank you so much for joining us. Also, I'm excited in September. You're partnering with Fierce Fighting Championship. It's the Utah's largest MMA with fighters from Utah and Idaho. That'll be a fun event as well. If you want to learn more, you can just go to bearlake.org. Bear Lake, go ahead, escape the heat, have some fun. Visit bearlake.org for your 4th of July and 24th of July planning.
Summer is finally here, and it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the summer. Clean before your barbecues, graduation parties, family reunions, and gatherings that you're hosting to make your guests feel right at home. Call the cleaning pros at Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at just $99. Plus, the 4th room free, and take 20% off your air ducts cleaning. You owe it to yourself, your health, and your home. Schedule your appointment at ZeroRes.com or call 801-288-9376 and ask for the KSL special. Spell it backward or forward. It's the right way to clean. Zero Res.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? On America's birthday weekend? Why not stop by America's #1 brakes destination? Right now, you can save 15% when you buy a set of OE quality Duralast pads and rotors. And up to 50% when you bundle Shop Pro brake cleaner and brake fluid with Sil Glide brake lubricant. It's just part of our 4th of July sale at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, fire did major damage to a 4-plex in Orem overnight. Second, a new study shows wildfires around the world are getting worse. And third, President Biden's son Hunter has lost his law license in the District of Columbia. 86 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We just hung up the phone with Detective Melissa Farney with the Lone Peak Police Department, who helped break down the rules for us for e-bikes and kids riding e-bikes.
Under 8 years old, you're not supposed to be on an e-bike at all. Like, the law states you cannot ride e-bikes if you are under 8 years old. So if you're under 14, you can ride them. So between 9 and 14, you can ride them with parent supervision. And if you're under 16, you can't ride a Class 3 bike, but you can ride everything else. The Class 3 bike, it's pedal assist, but it has a max speed of 28 miles per hour, and it gets into the watts. So it's a 750-watt bike.
And Debbie, you know, we had a little experience in my family with e-bikes. My wife and I got on e-bikes. I'd only been on it a few times. It was the first time my wife had. It had a throttle. She hit the throttle. It was so powerful it wheelied up. She fell on her backside, got her leg kind of cut up underneath her, and it destroyed her knee. It tore every ligament. Literally. It broke every bone, and she ended up needing a knee replacement. So we've experienced firsthand what an electric bike can do and how powerful they can be. So I think they're new enough. We don't realize what they can do. We don't realize how fast they go and how dangerous they can be.
Yeah, and they're becoming more popular, probably less expensive than they were when they first came out on the market. And what I've noticed in my own community is more and more kids. I don't think they're 16. I don't ask to see their driver license, but I had an experience last summer when I was running on one of the paths out there where I live. And here comes some preteen girls on an e-bike. One was on the handlebars, and the other one, Dave rolls his eyes like another's on the seat, and they're like, "Excuse me,
move out of the way."
And then you don't, especially if they're coming up behind you, you don't know which way to move. They were just coming too fast. And what I've said just moments ago, and we'll take live phone calls in just a moment, is it would be an absolute no way, no e-bikes in this home until you're 16 and you can show us that you passed a driver license exam. So if you can drive a car, you can drive an e-bike, but anything before that, no go. Absolutely not.
And quite honestly, these e-bikes are becoming so powerful that they are turning into motorcycles. They probably should be, that have some of the same restrictions. Let's take your phone calls right now. Nathan in Centerville, what do you think?
I think the law is actually about spot on. I know as a kid I was heavy into mountain biking, and I had a computer on my mountain bike, and I was regularly going 25 to 30 miles per hour. Now, I was pedaling it, but the speed should not be the determining factor. We bought an e-bike for my 15-year-old who's in high school. She just finished her sophomore year, and we live 1.3 miles from the high school. It is a perfect solution for that. And I think just good bike safety, and because whether you're on a road bike going 30 miles an hour or you're on an e-bike going 18 miles an hour,
Great. Yeah, it's a good argument.
I don't think there's much difference.
Thanks, Nathan, for your phone call.
One thing I would maybe push back a little bit, Nathan, and I appreciate your expertise in this because you're obviously a biker, is when you're riding a bike and you're learning, you graduate to certain steps. You don't start right out of the gate going 30 miles an hour on your bike. Well, that's what can happen with these e-bikes is you push the throttle and boom, you're instantly going 30 miles an hour before you've gained the experience and balance. And that's where I think it's a little bit different than when we grew up just with self-propelled bicycles.
Think about the times when I was a kid riding a bike, even as an adult. I used to bike all the time in my 20s to cycle over to Dimpledale, in Sandy from Midville. Things that I just would fall off my bike sometimes. I would just, I don't know, you hit a pothole that no car could sustain, and before you know it, you're flying over the handlebars. Thankfully, I always had a helmet on once they invented those things. I can't imagine flying off of an e-bike as a child. Flying off of an e-bike. I don't know what kind of injuries you'd sustained. I sustained a few injuries flying off my own old 10-speed when I was a kid. Hi, Steve. You agree?
Hi, how are you?
You agree or disagree with my 16-year-old? You got to be 16 to ride an e-bike in my house.
Well, actually, I do agree with Debbie, but before I comment on that, I think something that's even more dangerous are those single-wheel electric bikes that do 35 or 40 miles an hour right in traffic. I can't believe that the police allow that.
Yeah, those are wild.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a unicycle, and
what?
yeah, it is.
What is this?
Debbie, it is absolutely incredible.
These are like on I-15 in traffic?
One wheels?
Well, no, but on 45-mile-an-hour roads, you ought to see it.
Oh, I don't want to see it. I'm good, Steve. That's okay.
I'm pulling up the video now, Steve.
Okay, Dave's going to show me on YouTube, so go for it. What do you think about e-bikes?
As far as what you said, I believe, having ridden motorcycles my whole life, and I've been riding them for 60 years, I think you've got to learn, and I agree with Dave, you've got to learn by starting out, maybe even in church parking lot, similar to what we did with our kids, and then learn a little bit at a time until the laws catch up, because it is very dangerous.
Well, thank you so much for your call, Steve. And Dave just pulled up the video of these. Yeah, I've seen these before. Actually, we might have talked about them in the past. There's my memory going.
The electric unicycle?
What's that jumbo pack they have on their back? Is that something that powers it? Wow, that's wild.
I think that's a parachute.
Hi, James. James in Provo. How you doing today?
Hi, Debbie. I fully agree with you that nobody in a household under 16 should ride an e-bike, and I think one of the main reasons is with a driver's license, the rules of the road, yielding, especially, and I think that's vital because you got to know it right away, when you get in heavy traffic,
Yeah, which side of the road to drive on, what other drivers are expecting you to do. And this is not just about e-bikes, folks. We have electric unicycles. I just showed you that video, Debbie, that are extremely powerful. They can drive 35, 45 miles an hour. But electric scooters can absolutely go 30 miles an hour. Some of the really high-end ones can go 60 miles an hour. You've got electric skateboards as well. And we do have to address this. They are fun. They are amazing, and I love them. They are a ton of, and I don't feel unsafe on them. I've jumped on. I know how to ride a bike. I haven't felt safe. That being said, I have a lot of experience riding bikes and scooters and skateboards. Driving, exactly.
I mean, you drive slowly, but that's okay.
I do drive
we
slowly.
Appreciate that.
I do drive slowly. But I think we've got to figure out what to do and how to train kids because they're not going anywhere. I think a blanket, no, Grinch for Christmas, scenario that Debbie wants to pitch. That's not realistic. I've got 4-year-olds in my neighborhood riding e-bikes.
Not my 4-year-old.
How do we train these kids? How do we get them up to speed? Because they're too fun. They're too tempting. We got to just train them better.
So part of it for me is that there's all kinds of traffic around. So you got to count on everybody else that's driving a car not to be driving it through a neighborhood, running stop signs, which I saw this morning. I saw a woman at the 4-way stop when I was leaving my neighborhood. She wanted to run that stop sign because nobody else was out and about. Well, you get a cyclist on an e-bike, especially a child who doesn't know the rules of the road, combined with people who are behind the wheel of a car not following the rules, and it's just it's a no-go. I'm the Grinch. I'm the Grinch who stole the e-bikes.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomis. KSL's top story this hour. Utah voters headed to the polls for primary election day. Parker Davis cast his vote today, says he wanted to support current Utah leadership, who he feels has done a great job building the state's economy.
You got to get out and vote. You can't just sit on the sidelines and complain or give your thoughts about everything. You need to come out and actually be a part of it.
Polls and drop boxes open until 8 o'clock tonight. You can find more election information on our website, kslnewsradio.com. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Parts of Kenya's parliament building have been burned now as thousands of protesters rallied against a new finance bill. A number of demonstrators have been shot and killed outside the building in Nairobi. The demonstrators wanted to vote against a bill imposing new taxes on the country, where frustrations over the high cost of living have simmered for years. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day now 362 points, while the NASDAQ is up 135. And our KSL weather looks like sunshine and hot weather today, but maybe a thunderstorm tomorrow. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I lost a whole bunch of weight with Salt Lake City fat loss, and a lot of people have commented it was 57 pounds, so it's kind of hard to not address, the elephant I lost in the room. Anyway, when people ask me, do I like the program? I said, listen, anytime you're on some sort of program and you can't eat endless supplies of French fries, cheeseburgers, and cheesecake, that's unfortunate. But I will tell you this. By joining the program, I feel great. I feel so much better. I moved better on the pickleball court. That was a huge win for me, and I did it safely and naturally, without surgery, without injections. So if you're interested in joining a program, Salt Lake City Fat Loss has been phenomenal for me. If you use my name right now, you're going to get an additional $200 off the program. All you have to do is schedule a free consultation by going to slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com.
We need Colby Jenkins. His commitment to the Constitution, fiscal responsibility, limited government, and individual liberty make him the best candidate to represent Utah's values in Washington.
The problem in Washington isn't just Democrats. Half of the Republicans in Congress vote for deficit spending, endless wars, and unconstitutional mandates. That's why we need better Republicans, like Colby Jenkins.
Paid for by the Constitutional Conservatives Fund PAC. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Odds are, if you have a 401k, it's set up with your payroll provider or an insurance company. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and if you're using your payroll provider or an insurance company for your 401k, the employer may be overpaying for the plan, the employees may have blasé investment options, and those blasé investment options may cost more than they should. Not with Trajan Wealth. Call us today, 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600. Services offered through a third-party partner.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with everything I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of dry AMD called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, colors appear dull or washed out. For others, hazy or blurred vision make it hard to see details, like fine print on price tags. Many have trouble seeing in the dark, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you think you have GA, don't wait. Treatments are available. Ask a retina specialist about FDA-approved treatments for GA and go to GAWon'tWait.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meeks.
We have a new accident southbound to I-15, about 9th South. Right lanes are blocked, and that's causing delays back to about North Temple. It's a delay-free drive on the rest of your Valley freeways. Don't miss Park City Gallery Association's Gallery Stroll with monthly inspiration and family-friendly activities, including this Friday's Scavenger Stroll from 6 to 9 p.m. Shop and get inspired supporting local. Visit ParkCityGalleryAssociation.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny and hot today, high near 100. A little cooler tomorrow and Thursday with a chance of thunderstorms. 88 degrees and sunny right now. I'm Dan Bomis from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio. Your voice, your vote, 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
In about 9 hours from now, we'll start reporting results as the polls close at 8 o'clock tonight. A lot of eyes squarely on a few races here in Utah. We talked earlier today in the 9 o'clock hour with KSL at Night host Taylor Morgan and KSL 5 Television's Lindsay Aerts about the U.S. Senate race for Senator Mitt Romney's seat. He's going to leave the Senate at the end of his term because he said, I'm getting old, like the rest of us, and it's time for the younger generation to step in. We also talked about the governor's race between Spencer Cox and Phil Lyman in the primary. And now we're going to talk more specifically right now about the congressional races.
There's a few that have been very, very interesting to me. Congressional District 2 with Celeste Malloy. In particular, Debbie, kind of stands out to me because this was such a short body of work that Celeste Malloy had to build on. She won the first election with a special election when Representative Chris Stewart stepped down. She won, and only a few months later, she was running again.
And Colby Jenkins challenging her for that seat. We listened to both of them during the debate, and we both pointed out that Jenkins spent a lot of time.
We need leadership that President Trump had before. I will vote for and support President Trump and the new Trump administration. I voted for President Trump before, and I will vote for him now.
focusing on President Trump.
If you truly want to fight for
and
water
then
and land
not
in Utah,
too long after that, President Trump ended up endorsing Celeste Malloy, whereas Colby Jenkins has the endorsement of U.S. Senator Mike Lee.
And Mike Lee and President Trump have done a lot of events together where they've been side by side. They spoke at the Libertarian Convention as well. Adam Gardner joins us right now, host of KSL at Night, the founding partner of ASG Consulting. Adam, thank you.
Dave, Debbie, good to be with you.
It's fun to have you on the show, Adam. We've been listening to you on KSL at Night, so it's great to have you as part of the KSL News Radio team. Today is a big day for a lot of these candidates.
This is my Super Bowl, Debbie.
It is. I know, right? What are the appetizers look like? serve us up the appetizers here. What do you know about this?
You know, you guys played that little flashback of the debate, and I just realized that if I drank, I would start a drinking game every time Colby Jenkins said leadership. That seemed to be the answer to every single question that was asked. But, Dave, you hit it right on the head. Congresswoman Malloy was sworn into office in November, and 1 week prior to her being sworn in, Colby Jenkins filed to run against her for the next year. So she really had zero time. She had taken 0 votes before she had a challenger in the next race, which is very, very unusual. And so you've kind of seen this clash of the Utah Titans here, where Mike Lee came in very strong for Colby Jenkins, and then President Trump came in for Celeste Malloy. And prior to Celeste Malloy's receiving Donald Trump's endorsement, she had multiple Trump cabinet members. She had former Congressman Chris Stewart on her side. President Trump's national security advisor had endorsed her. So she really had a stacked endorsement resume. And so what we're going to see hopefully tomorrow is we're going to see which one actually pulls it off, Trump or Mike Lee.
I remember listening when Celeste Malloy was asked about not receiving Senator Lee's endorsement. This is what she had to say. Do we have that audio, Deb, of Malloy's response to not receiving Lee's endorsement?
I don't know for sure. I've always been friendly with Senator Lee. Mike and I have talked on the phone several times since I've been in office. He didn't call me before he decided to endorse.
Adam, can you speak to maybe how rare it is that members of Congress don't support each other, maybe branch outside, especially in a primary?
In a primary, I have actually never seen that happen. I don't recall it ever happening. You know, it could have happened back in the early days, like the Merrill Cook days. But if you remember back a few years ago when Mike Lee was running for re-election to the Senate, he had the endorsement of 48 Republican senators. There was just one missing, and that was Mitt Romney. And Mike Lee went on TV everywhere to say how dissatisfied he was, that it was outside of tradition for another senator of the same party, same delegation, not to endorse a member of their own delegation. And here we have him this year just totally disregarding any tradition like he had mentioned before. So that's what makes this race so interesting. It not only caught Celeste Malloy by surprise, it caught every member of the delegation by surprise, which makes, honestly, this race all the more fun to watch.
Can we flip over to Congressional District 3 with you, Adam? Adam Gardner, KSL at Night host, one of the newer members of the KSL at Night team and the KSL News Radio team, also a founding partner of ASG Consulting here in Utah. It's a lobbying firm, and joining us right now to talk about the races. Of course, today is the primary deadline to get your ballot in. You got to do it in person if you're going to do it, because you can't mail it in today. That window closed yesterday. So let's talk about the third congressional district as well. We have 5 different candidates in that race, including Representative John Curtis. It looks like Riverton Mayor Trent Staggs it polled well.
Are you talking about the Senate race here?
I'm sorry. I flipped over to the Senate race in my head. I'm trying to do too much here. Can we flip over to the Senate race? That's what I meant. Thanks, Adam. That's why we have you on our team. Keep me straight. Let's flip over to the Senate race. Can we talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you make of this race? Because it is interesting. Obviously, at the top of the right now, it looks like Representative Curtis is doing very well. Trent Staggs as second. The one that surprises me is Brad Wilson, former Speaker of the House. He has not. He seems to be in the single digits, maybe somewhere in the 9% range. Are you a little surprised that he's not polling better than he did?
I am surprised. I've known Brad Wilson for a long time, and I think he's a fantastic lawmaker, and he'd be a great addition to the Senate. What it just shows is that House members and members of the legislature are not very well known or recognized outside the political body that exists in Salt Lake City. I also think he may have gotten in a little too early, and I think that may have hurt him because once John Curtis got in, he really had to pick a lane of did he want to be kind of the moderate, pensive candidate like John Curtis was being, or did he go on the MAGA route where Trent Staggs was? And it seemed like he tried to go after those MAGA voters right at the beginning, at least for convention. And then once convention was over, he had to switch to go that moderate route. And I think it might have been a little late for him.
Let's now focus. I'm ready to focus on Congressional District number 3.
I'm ready too, Debbie.
Adam, thanks for playing along. Okay, we got John Dugel, State Auditor John Dugel, Mike Kennedy, a Utah State Senator, Stuart Pay, combat veteran. He's also an attorney. And then Case Lawrence, entrepreneur, and then J.R. Byrd. I mean, there's a huge list. Roosevelt Mayor, J.R. Byrd. There's a huge list of folks, men on the primary ballot in that race. Adam, first of all, shout out to all of these candidates who've decided that they want to get involved in politics. That really impresses me that we have that many people, so many people interested in vying for these seats. How are things shaping up in that race as far as you're seeing it?
Well, in this race, it's really fascinating because usually in a group this big, you have some kind of out there candidates, a little crazy. That's not the case here. And I think that if any one of these candidates won, we'd have a fantastic representative of Utah in Congress. So I like the whole field that's running. The interesting part about this race is Case Lawrence is another, kind of like Brad Wilson, a wealthy guy trying to get into a congressional race. But in his case, Case Lawrence, his name ID actually shot up. And it seems, according to the polling, that it is neck and neck between Case Lawrence and Senator Mike Kennedy, with the dark horses kind of being J.R. Byrd. And J.R. Byrd came out of nowhere along the Wasatch Front, too. And so this race has been really fascinating to watch.
Yeah, Adam, in another situation where you have somebody like John Dugel, state auditor, who's received more votes than anybody in this as state auditor, really hasn't done much. And as you said, he doesn't even crack your top 3.
Well, it's interesting because delegates saw him as a rhino. And I've known John Dugel for about 15 years. And if anyone thinks that John Dugel is a rhino, they are insane. He's been one of the most conservative members of the State House of Representatives. He's been a very conservative and tenacious auditor for the state. And what he said on January 6th, he posted something on Facebook that said that Donald Trump was wrong and he was complicit in the January 6th riot at the Capitol. And the delegates really punished him for that. And since he couldn't get out of the convention, he couldn't seem to overcome their objections.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much, Adam. Adam Gardner, host of KSL at Night.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Have a great day today. We'll be listening to the entire team all day long right here on KSL News Radio to get the latest as the ballots get dropped just after 8 o'clock tonight. Straight ahead, it's something I pointed out with Adam just moments ago, Dave. I have been fascinated in the interest. People are still interested in politics. It seems like one of the most difficult and sometimes thankless jobs that you can hold lately. So let's talk about what the research shows, why people are running next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
I've had my Connecticut water softener for years now, and I've never had an ounce of problems. All I have to do is remember to throw a little salt in the bin. It is easy. And because of the way Connecticut water softeners are designed, they use 2/3 less salt than everybody else. It's highly efficient. So when you have to grab those 40-pound bags of salt pellets to load in, yeah, you can save your bag. The way they've designed it as well is the bin is only about shin high, so you don't need to heave it over your shoulder and dislocate tear your rotator cuff trying to get the salt in there. And let me tell you, it works phenomenally well. Getting soft water into our house was a huge investment. I feel so much better after I take a shower. You can feel the difference on your skin. It's hydrated. It's soft. It's great for your expensive appliances. It prolongs the life of your water heater. Research has shown that to be the case. So if you're interested in getting soft water into your home, go ahead and give Kinetico of Utah a call. They're an authorized Kinetico dealer. 801-576-8600. That's 801-576-8600. Or, of course, you can check them out online by going to softwaterutah.com.
Utah's historic primary ends tonight. Get total election coverage this week. A special edition of Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News starting today at 3 and live results all night. Then tomorrow, get a roundup of winners and reaction to the races all morning. Your voice, your vote 2024. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Paid for by Lyman for Utah.
I really just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to everybody that's worked so hard on this campaign. Thank you to the volunteers, to the donors, people that have put up signs, people that have been out talking to their neighbors. It's been so great. I really believe that Utah is about to see unspeakable good. We are really, really close in the polls right now. If you turn out, if you'll come out and vote, if you'll get a friend to go with you, we're about to see one of the biggest upsets in Utah's political history, and I really want you to be part of it.
I'm Phil Lyman, and I approve this message.
Trail mix, beef jerky, mixing all the soda flavors at the gas station soda machine. Snacks are better on the road. The gas is better when it's top tier. And the pit stop is better when there's a dinosaur there. Love the filler moments at a Sinclair gas station near you with Dino Care, our top tier gasoline. Some sweet and salty snacks for the commute and a big green dino for the memories. Find a gas station near you at sinclairoil.com. Sinclair, fill up your life.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. This year has gone by so fast. Are you keeping track of your accomplishments? When was the last time you took a moment to celebrate your wins? When life goes by so fast, it can be easy to lose track of your goals and feel like you're spinning out of control. That's where BetterHelp comes in. Therapy can help you take a look at your progress and set realistic goals for the next 6 months. Therapy is for everyone, because everyone deserves to be the best version of themselves. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's totally online, convenient, and flexible. Just fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists anytime. Take a moment. Visit betterhelp.com/ABC Radio today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ABC Radio.
When you're getting a new roof installed, you don't want to wonder, when are they going to be done? Or even worse, what are they doing up there? You'll never have to ask when you hire IWC Roofing, because their team of certified installers will be texting you pictures from the roof. You're going to know exactly what's going on and what you're getting for your money. And on most homes, they'll do the entire job in one day. In, out, cleaned up, and they'll even power wash your driveway just to say thank you. Now, you think you'd pay a premium for this level of service, but IWC does so many roofs. They get the material for less, and they pass the savings on to you. IWC is an Owens Corning certified platinum contractor. Of course, financing is available. Even better, their summer special, up to $2,000 off your quote. But you have to make the call. $2,000 off right now. Call IWC Roofing, 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690. Or go to IWCRoofingUtah.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, there's an excessive heat warning in effect for today. Some of the danger to hikers, though, comes from mountain areas where there's still snow. Second, music publishers suing a couple of AI companies, accusing them of using copyrighted music without paying. And third, hundreds of dead fish turned up at a popular pond in Salt Lake County. 88 degrees and sunny right now. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Look, this might be surprising to a lot of you to hear me say this, but I want to give a shout out to everybody who's running for political office. We spent so much time talking about these races and analyzing these races that I felt this morning, I had this thought. What we haven't done is said, good job, or I haven't, good job. It's often, at least how I see it, Dave, it's a hard job. You got to campaign, you got to spend money, you got to raise money to do it, you got to pick the right running mate if you're running for a position that requires a running mate. You got to go knock on doors. You got to go to town halls. It's a lot of nights, weekends, begging for people's votes. And I think what we're seeing here with the number of candidates in the different races is very impressive.
It is. And you're laying yourself bare, especially if you're going for a larger, well-known office, a federal office. You can rest assured that if you have wronged anybody in your life, they're going to come out and they're going to say something. So it is so brave to be able to put yourself out there, invest your money, your time, your effort, your family. It is impressive when people, when they run. And a lot of people, even when they have a very, very low chance of winning, they stick it out and they keep battling to the very end.
Well, just for example, in the U.S. Senate race for Senator Mitt Romney's seat, we have 4 candidates. In the 3rd Congressional District, we have 5 candidates. For the Attorney General seat here in Utah, we have 3 candidates. I'm impressed because if anybody were to come up to me on the street and say, are your aspirations to run for political office? Like, that seems like a no for me because, look, it could be, I think, a thankless job. You can't win. At times it might feel that way. One vote can be held against you for a really significant amount of time. And then you're answering to that vote for years to come. And then you got to hit the campaign trail. If you're in the House of Representatives, it seems like you're probably always campaigning, I would imagine, because it's every couple of years. But we look at the data here. It does show us, USA Today wrote an article about a younger generation getting involved, which I think is even more impressive, that, our youth want to get involved in politics. They're willing to, as you said, bare soul, bear themselves out there, put themselves out there for a vote. And they're saying it's because, they, want to make the world a better place, and because they're concerned about, how things are being run right now. So they want to get involved in politics. And there's been an uptick in the number of youth or young candidates running across the country. And something like 20% of young people say they would be interested in running for office. I think that's hopeful.
Yeah, it is hopeful. We're also a little bit cynical about what motivates people to run for office.
Yes, we are.
The vast majority of Americans, according to Pew Research, they looked into this of how many people believe that you're running for office because you want to serve the public. Only 15% of Americans think that the reason they're running is because they want to serve. It's usually an ulterior motive, whether it's to make more money, to get fame,
well, that's
power.
What we think when we're asked. We think that politicians want to do this job because they want to make a lot of money at it, and they want to become famous. I don't see that. I know there's the occasional stories where, somebody gets, maybe on the talk show circuit, but I think the majority, I couldn't put a percentage on it, but the majority of people who run for political office do so for altruistic, pure reasons. They want to make a difference. The idea of becoming rich and famous, I don't know. What I see from my vantage point is that would be a really difficult way to try to
become
rich and famous
at $178,000 a year.
Well,
yeah,
that's on the high end. If you're running for office in the state legislature, it's a part-time job. You still got to campaign. You got to convince people to vote for you. You got to deal with the sessions, which are plus it's not just the session, which is what a couple of months long. You're dealing with interim meetings and meetings outside and meeting with your neighbors and the voters. That's a lot for a part-time job and a part-time salary.
That's the best example, I think, is the Utah State Legislature. They only serve for 45 days. It's a part-time legislature. They make about $13,000 for the entire year. Trust me, they're not just working the 45 days of the legislative session. They're answering email. I mean, most of them have full-time jobs, but mostly this is a year-round, at least a part-time year-round job, but they only get paid $13,000 a year. So you are not doing it to get rich, for sure.
Yeah. Has anybody ever asked you, do you have aspirations to run for political office?
Yeah. People ask all the time.
I think people ask. That's just table talk, especially if you start talking politics with your friends and relatives. And it's like, well, do you ever think about, what about school board? You'd be great doing this or and my hope is that more people get involved. I think the occasional stories that break about a politician, we have a couple who back in Congress have been indicted over several years for different kinds of reasons. Those might stick in our brain. I ultimately feel like people are in it to do good and do better. And we need them. We need them to have that type of platform. We need them to look at the different issues. We don't have time to do that in our daily lives, right? We don't have time to look at all these issues. We count on them to do that for us and vote accordingly, how they feel best about an issue.
There's only one thing that is holding me back. Fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
Raising money. The amount of money you have to raise to run for office, hitting up all your friends, your family, and asking them for thousands of dollars. That we've got to be able to figure out a way where you can run for office and it is not so financially burdensome. And I don't think we've done a good job of figuring out how to do that. But I think there's a lot of amazing candidates out there that don't run because it's so financially burdensome to run.
We're going to take your live phone calls in just a moment. Would you ever? I mean, is that your next career, running for political office? 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. I want to make sure that you all know that today is the last day you can to vote in the primary. You can take your ballot to a drop box. So you got a mail-in ballot. You can take it to a drop box. We got all listings of all the places that you can drop those ballots off at kslnewsradio.com, or you can still vote in person. So I want to make sure I make that clear. Adam Gardner, who was on earlier with us, thought maybe I misspoke on that. So I want to make sure. Thank you so much, Adam, for catching that. I want to make it clear. You can still drop off your ballots at a ballot box. You can get more information at kslnewsradio.com. Also taking your live phone calls next.
It's 11:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. We have breaking news out of southern Utah. We're learning that 2 people are missing in the Steelbender off-road trail area. The Grand County Sheriff's Office says they got word yesterday on an abandoned UTV belonging to a male and female who'd been recreating in that area. Search and rescue teams currently searching via ground and air, and we'll keep you updated with the latest as that search continues. Hikers are being warned before heading into the mountains to cool off. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit has more.
The Timpanogos Emergency Response Team says snow moats and snow cornices are still dangerous for hikers. At times, rivers could be running beneath otherwise solid-looking snow. And just a few weeks ago, they had to rescue someone who fell through one of these snow bridges.
And tracks of previous hikers may not always be safe to follow as the snow continues melting. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Some of the biggest music companies in the world, including Universal, Sony, and Warner Records, are suing a couple of generative AI companies, Sunio and Udio. They say the AI outfits are scraping a huge amount of copyrighted music off the internet without permission and without paying for it. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day now, 293 points, while the NASDAQ is up 167. And coming up, a very hot day today and then a possibility of thunderstorms tomorrow. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:33.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I lost 57 pounds with Salt Lake City Fat Loss. I did it in just 2 months, and I feel great about it. People ask me, okay, what's your program? I tell them, listen, I joined Salt Lake City Fat Loss. And they say, is it worth paying for a program? And because I paid for it, just like you guys did, same price. And I tell them, yeah, the reason it was so effective for me to actually pay for a program and not just try to do it on my own is there was a level of accountability. When you pay for something, when you're paying this kind of money, you're not going to cheat. You're like, how in the world can I pay to lose weight and then buy that $4 cheeseburger and stuff it down my face and eat cheesecake and cheat all over the place? It helped keep me accountable. And then because I was accountable and because I stuck to the program, the results were fantastic. I was losing 25 pounds in the first 3 weeks without surgery, without injections, without any prepackaged meals. So if you're interested in losing weight, like I did, go ahead and reach out to Salt Lake City Fat Loss. You can get a free consultation. The website's very easy, slcfatloss.com. That's all, slcfatloss.com.
Find the best treasures in the best place. This is the place, Heritage Park. Go finding, go exploring, and go gathering delicious eats and special treats, all while learning about Utah's deep roots and history. Enjoy wide open spaces encompassing 450 acres of state park space. Be hands-on in the farm animal petting area, or simply meander through a treasure trove gift shop loaded with exclusive items within Utah's destination gift shop at This Is the Place Heritage Park. You're sure to scout just the right gift to commemorate whatever occasion for that special someone, and in an exceptional way. From gorgeous, authentic, vintage turquoise and Native American jewelry and pottery, novelty barbecue rubs, candles, soaps, honey, and more to help you create a custom and personalized gift they'll love. And if your special someone is obsessed with Jellycats, you can find the latest releases of fun there too. Open up your world to new possibilities and a place for everyone to explore. This is the Place Heritage Park. A place and Utah State Park for gifts and fun for everyone. For visitor information and more, visit thisistheplace.org.
You've been working so hard to keep your lawn and garden looking good. Maybe it's time to make your home look incredible with new window frames and double pane glass from Advanced Window Products. If you can imagine it, they can create it at their factory in Salt Lake City. Any style, any color, security enhancements to keep your family safe. All this and factory direct pricing. You're buying local and paying less. So seal up your home and reap the energy savings with Advanced Window Products, where they've been creating windows for 38 years. No subcontractors, they're not resellers. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. And right now at their summer special, get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. They offer 0% financing and even buy now, pay later. Busy season's just hitting. Call now. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off. But you have to call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Right lane still blocked with this crash on southbound I-15 at about 9th South. But the delays have cleared, and that's the good news in Utah County. We have a stalled vehicle at the ramp to northbound I-15 at Pleasant Grove Boulevard. It had been blocking a center lane. It is in the final cleanup stages, and UHP will be opening up that lane any moment now. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny and hot today with a high near 100, then a little cooler tomorrow and Thursday with a chance of thunderstorms. And right now we're at 90 degrees with sunshine. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio. Your voice, your vote, 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
We're going to head live to one of the busiest places in Utah today, and that's one of our county clerk's offices. County clerks across the state will be busy tabulating our votes and then releasing some tallies after the polls close tonight.
So how quickly will these things start to come out? Because with the mail-in balloting that we do here and has become so popular, we don't get those instant results. We don't know by the end of the day, who wins, because it depends on when everything arrives. Lanny Chapman joins us right now. Lanny is the Salt Lake County Clerk. Give us an idea. When will we start seeing some numbers, and when do you think we'll be able to know who the winners are?
Yeah, so tonight, starting right after 8 p.m., I'm going to start releasing results. Those results are going to include all of the ballots that I received up through this morning. So anything I received before noon today will be included in my election night results tonight. I'm going to do a couple extra updates that night, too, to include early vote and election day in-person voting. So I'll probably have 3 updates tonight on election night so that we can have as much of the final version of the election results as possible.
Of course, you're just one county. There are so many others that'll be tabulating and dropping ballot results tonight as well. Walk us through in terms of what we can do with our ballots today, Lanny. I want to make sure we're absolutely clear that there's still in-person voting today, as well as ballot drop-off available today, but not at a post office, right?
Absolutely. You've got it. Do not use the post office at this point. If you have a ballot that you have not given to the clerk yet, please make sure you use one of the drop boxes in Salt Lake County. We have 28 locations. They will be open until 8 p.m. tonight. So as long as you're in line to drop that ballot off at a drop box, you'll be able to participate. Also, in Salt Lake County, again, we have 20 vote centers on Election Day. They've been open since 7 a.m. today. They'll continue to be open until 8 p.m., or the last person in line at 8 p.m. has an ability to cast their ballot.
Do you have any poll watchers, or how do you become a poll watcher if you're interested in seeing this?
Sure. We've had tons of poll watchers, and in fact, it's a great way for people to better understand the process that we go through to make sure that everybody's ballot is counted. You just go to your clerk's office, sign in. You have to either be a Utah resident and a voter, or the ability to become a voter. So if you're not quite old enough to vote yet, you can still poll watch, or observe. And just go check out the process. I think it's fascinating. I know myself and all of my clerk colleagues around this state are very proud of what we do, and we love to show it off.
Lanny Chapman is the Salt Lake County Clerk, live on the line. Today's a busy day at the clerk's offices because it is the last day to vote in this primary election. You just heard her say they'll start dropping totals or vote that they've counted so far tonight after 8 o'clock. We will carry, we'll have live coverage throughout the day right here at KSL News Radio. And when we last talked to you yesterday, Lanny, we got to stop meeting like this. Salt Lake County was at about 20% turnout as of yesterday. Are things looking better today?
Oh, my goodness. It is amazing to see all the voters coming out and casting their ballots, using the drop boxes, voting in person. As of last night, as of 7 last night, we were at 26% voter turnout. And this morning we got a ton, almost 10,000 ballots in the mail. So we're picking up at the drop boxes consistently throughout the day. We're seeing a steady flow of people voting in person. But just a quick reminder, if you haven't yet cast your ballot, make sure your voice is heard.
Okay, I got a little bit of a quirky question for you. Okay, so when these ballots get sent out and they sit around on the kitchen table sometimes, maybe there's a spill. I'm not saying it was me. I'm not saying it was my kids. How damaged can a ballot be and still be accepted?
You know, I've seen the litany of them, coffee stains to spaghetti night. Those ballots will still count.
I was thinking of like purse crackers, Lana. You know what I mean? Like, you know how all us moms carry around purse crackers? Well, sometimes the ballot can get a little smushed down at the bottom of the purse with the purse crackers. So
as long as you can read it, as long as you can understand that, read the signature, you're good to go then.
You are good to go. As long as I understand what your intent is, water damage is okay as long as I know who you want to vote for.
All right.
And you've signed it.
Well, thanks, Lanny. So appreciate it. Good luck tonight. We're all counting on you.
Thank you.
You and your team. We'll probably be talking to you in the days ahead. Lanny Chapman with Salt Lake County. She's the clerk of Salt Lake County. Always appreciate the hard work that everybody at the clerk's offices are doing. I know it's probably a lot like, April 15th is to CPAs.
Yes. Yeah, it's a little mixed feelings maybe. You see the light at the end of the tunnel, but this is a busy day. But this is what they get paid for. This is the most important thing that they do at the clerk's office. If you have questions, you can go to vote.utah.gov. That's a great resource. But all of your county clerks have a website where they will give you the latest information if you have questions. But some good one-stop shopping is vote.utah.gov.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
You know Master Electrical. They've been around since 1954, so anytime you've had some electrical needs, they can take care of you. Well, we've got some exciting news right now. They've joined with Mountain Home Services.
Yeah, Master Electrical has been your trusted source for all your electrical needs, your EV chargers, your generators. Think about your ceiling fans that you need to get installed so you can cool things down in your house. Well, now that they've teamed up with Mountain Home Services, they can do even more.
Yeah, they can handle your HVAC, your heating, your air, your plumbing, and that's exactly what they've done for me. They installed a furnace, this is years ago, and they would take care of it and make sure it was cleaned. It's been fantastic. It's worked, and I've been so happy with Mountain Home Services.
And this all comes with their upfront pricing guarantee, which means no hidden fees, 100% satisfaction guaranteed too.
They're the company we trust, and so can you. Just go to mountainhomeutah.com to learn more, mountainhomeutah.com.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You need to meet my aunt. Her name is Rochelle Morris, and she's running for Salt Lake County Council. She's super smart, and she really cares about people. She wants Salt Lake County to be a great place for kids. That means safe parks, safe streets, good rec centers, and making sure taxes go down instead of up. Go to voterochellemorris.com to learn more.
Thanks, Zoe and Tilly. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I'm running to make Salt Lake County work better for all of us. With my background in managing money in the private sector, I'm committed to cutting waste, holding the county accountable, and maximizing and protecting your tax dollars for you. Together, we can ensure Salt Lake County is a great place to live for many years to come. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I approve this message. Learn more at voterochellemorris.com.
That's voterochellemorris.com.
Paid for by Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council.
What's in store for 2024? The 90th Annual Ute Stampede Rodeo with Extreme Bulls, July 10th through the 13th. The Ute Stampede is more than just 90 years of family entertainment. 3 nights of PRCA Rodeo, Flying U Cowboys, Rosser Rodeo, Keith Isley Live, Magic in Motion, Madison McDonald, Thomas and Haley Proctor, and more showmanship, competition, and prize money. Battling the angriest bulls in the West, Wednesday, July 10th for Extreme Bulls. Get special ticket packages, offers plus Extreme Bulls. Visit UteStampedeRodeo.com.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Junior Achievement of Utah's mission is to inspire and prepare young people of all backgrounds to succeed in a global economy. President and CEO Christy Tribe joins us with more.
In a world where our youth are continually hearing, "It's not possible," we at Junior Achievement believe in what is possible. We believe in the boundless potential of youth, no matter their past or current circumstances. Junior Achievement connects students throughout Utah with volunteers serving as mentors from a variety of professions. Through our volunteers, JA prepares young people for the future of work, teaches them how to think entrepreneurially, and ensures they have the tools to be financially capable adults. These mentor-student relationships expose our students to infinite future possibilities and have a profound impact on their lives. In fact, according to a 2022 survey, 56% of JA alumni report they have worked or are currently working in the same field as one of their JA volunteers. We can make a difference. Visit our website at www.ja-utah.org to get involved. Believe us, it's possible.
With a focus on financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and work readiness, Junior Achievements programs give kids from all walks of life an opportunity to learn and grow. Learn how you can get involved at their website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a search is underway in Grand County for 2 missing people in the Steel Bender Trail area. Second, music publishers suing a couple of AI companies, accusing them of using copyrighted music without paying. And third, even in a heavy snow year, the number of avalanches reported over the winter was down in Utah. 90 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, in the last hour of this show, we've learned 2 important things. One, we just learned from Lanny Chapman, who's the Salt Lake County clerk, is the number of ballots that are getting turned in is really, it's a great trend in the right direction. It's showing that there's more and more interest in the last couple of days in voting in the primary election. Today is the last day to get your ballot turned in or to vote in person. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. And the other thing we've learned is that kids cannot be riding e-bikes if they're too young to ride them. And a lot of police departments are now putting out warnings all across the Wasatch Front.
People are riding them through parks during like little festivals and stuff, and it just gets dangerous because of the throttle and the speed and kids everywhere. And
there's 3 numbers. 3 ages you got to keep track of. And I had no idea there were any laws in place. 8 years old, 14, and 16. If you are under 8 years old, no e-bikes. Like, that's just, boom.
It's the
you
law.
Can't do it. It's the law. So if your little 8-year-old or 7-year-old wants an e-bike, can't do it. Don't want to break the law. Okay. At 14, you can have an e-bike, but you've got to be accompanied by a parent. So if it's the family bike ride, then that's fine. At age 16, now you're golden. Now you can have your e-bike. It can travel 30 miles an hour. They call that a Class 3 e-bike. You can have one of those once you turn 16.
Yeah, we spoke to Detective Melissa Farney with the Lone Peak Police Department in Utah County. You just heard from her a moment ago, saying that kids are, riding them through parks, and obviously that can become dangerous. She also, as Dave just did, broke down the rules for how old you got to be.
Under 8 years old, you're not supposed to be on an e-bike at all. Like the law states, you cannot ride e-bikes if you are under 8 years old. So if you're under 14, you can ride them. So between 9 and 14, you can ride them with parent supervision. And if you're under 16, you can't ride a Class 3 bike, but you can ride everything else. The Class 3 bike, it's pedal assist, but it has a max speed of 28 miles per hour and it gets into the watts. So it's a 750 watt bike.
Now, there's no question these are so wildly popular. And it's not just e-bikes, it's e-scooters. I just got passed yesterday by an e-skateboard. It was incredible. This guy was just standing on a skateboard and he's going straight up a ramp. And I couldn't believe how powerful it was. He just passed me right away. And these are not going anywhere. So we've got to figure out how, not just to put restrictions on them and tell people they can't use them. I would like to see a more concerted effort of how to train kids from all ages of how to use these, because they are so much more powerful than the self-propelled toys that we're used to playing on.
Yeah, when I'm on a walking trail, I get overwhelmed by e-bikes. They just come up so quickly, and they're like, left. Like, I don't know which way is my left. Where's my left hand right now? Like, which way am I moving? But when you put a child on an e-bike, I just think there's just all kinds of room for error there. I personally, and I said this earlier in the show, if my kids were asking me for e-bikes to go ride them around the neighborhood or over to, Harmon's to grab some groceries or whatever, I'd say absolutely not till you're 16 years old. You got to have your driver license to be on anything motorized in the city. I mean, it's too many cars. I see a lot of people in my own community running stop signs. They don't even slow down for the stop signs. A lot of people going too fast for conditions. You know what I mean? So even on beautiful sunny days, there's lots of parked cars. I worry about all of that. It just does not mix well. So I'd be a no-go as a mom on an e-bikes for kids until they were a certain age. But a lot of people disagree with me on that.
And you're not just anti-fun, because when you were raising your kids, didn't you guys have four-wheelers?
Four-wheelers that they'd go. But they weren't riding them around on 106 South. It was way up in the high Uintas on ATV-approved trails, So it wasn't where cars are going 50, 60 miles an hour.
But you felt safe with them on those.
Oh, yeah, and they were also, totally, outfitted with all of the safety gear. They couldn't even move. They had so much safety gear on, so.
So with safety gear and maybe some training, would that change things for you?
Well, there's also one of those regulators on those things. Is that what they're called? Where they couldn't go... They couldn't go fast.
Yeah.
A governor, yeah. It was like they went so slow. So, no, I wouldn't allow them on the streets with an e-bike. Not as fast as those things can go, and with all of the unknown factors with people around and kids around and cars around, it would make me too nervous as a mom. I already had a lot of other things to worry about. I wouldn't want to have to worry about that.
There's so many. Not just e-bikes, again, scooters, skateboards, and they come in all shapes and sizes. I was telling you, in my neighborhood, we've got 4-year-olds running around on little electric scooters and e-bikes. They make them that small because they're very affordable. They used to be very expensive. Now you can get one for $100, something that isn't terribly powerful, but is still an e-bike. And I don't think it's going anywhere. We don't have a great way to train kids and to teach kids, because when they are running around in your neighborhood, they just think that they own everything, and they think that every parent and every car sees them because they see the car. We've got to figure out as a community how we are going to get these kids trained up and safe, make sure they know which side of the road to be on, It used to, in some cases, are traveling just as fast as the cars are.
Wow, it's a lot to think about. And these are the moments where I'm like, uphill, whatever happened to uphill both ways? You know, and was a child, I had a rusted out bike with a chain that didn't go and pedals that didn't work, and we made it work.
Your voice, your vote, 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
So just a few moments ago, Salt Lake County Clerk Lanny Chapman with their daily check-in on the Dave and Dujanovic show, what to do with your ballot.
Do not use the post office at this point. If you have a ballot that you have not given to the clerk yet, please make sure you use one of the drop boxes in Salt Lake County. We have 28 locations. They will be open until 8 p.m. tonight. So as long as you're in line to drop that ballot off at a drop box, you'll be able to participate. Also, in Salt Lake County, again, we have 20 vote centers on Election Day. They've been open since 7 a.m. today. They'll continue to be open until 8 p.m., or the last person in line at 8 p.m. has an ability to cast their ballot.
I don't know why I am the way I am, but I never drop my ballot off early. I never do. It's always on Election Day, and it's not because I'm nostalgic or because I want to just vote on Election Day. No, I'm just such a procrastinator that I always drop it off. So I will go home. I will fill out my ballot. I already know who I'm going to vote for. I've already done all the research. I just need to fill it out and take it and drop it off.
Yeah. You're one of the reasons why turnout goes way up today.
As of last night, as of 7 last night, we were at 26% voter turnout. And this morning we got a ton, almost 10,000 ballots in the mail. So we're picking up at the drop boxes consistently throughout the day. We're seeing a steady flow of people voting in person. But just a quick reminder, if you haven't yet cast your ballot, make sure your voice is heard.
And this is where I'll get a little preachy on you. It's your civic duty. This is so important. I had a great opportunity the other day. I was around a bunch of 18-year-olds, and I looked at them. I said, do you know you don't have to wait till November to vote? You can vote right now. And it was like brand new information for them. Like, go talk to your parents. Make sure you vote. This is your opportunity. Like I said, it's your civic duty. All right, let's move over to Maria Chaleos and the KSL News team to continue our Election Day coverage.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News.